YouTube, Brian Phillips. We're gonna open this box. It's supposed to be all new from somebody. We haven't actually opened it yet, so we're not sure. Some of these packages are not labeled very clearly. This would be one of them. We're gonna see in about 30 seconds. Welcome to Brian Phillips RC. We unbox them, we build them, and then we do radio setups so you don't have to figure out all the details, especially if you're brand new or just returning to the hobby. So welcome to Brian Phillips RC. Check out bprc.me if you want to find all the rest of the competitive offerings we've done over the years. It is a Durafly P-40 V2. Amazing. Okay, so real quick, we're gonna get this thing out of the box. This has got a bomb dropping mechanism and World War II scheme livery. Very cool. Okay, so yeah, we've got a bomb drop mechanism, all new metal retracts and oleos. Looks like it's got a 90-degree rotation and early style P-40 scale canopy. So how big is that? Looks like the prop's a 10.5.3 blade, so it must be small. Yeah. 1100 millimeters. Okay, so it's got retracts and it's 1100 millimeters. That's unusual.
It's a big box.
Well, that's because this is gonna come in one piece, yeah. I bet. The fuse should be all one piece. And then the wing might be one piece as well. That's the way I'm guessing. Yep, as expected. Okay, so Durafly, we just did an H-King plane and we were really impressed with the way the kit box turned out. In fact, it's sitting right there and had a really good time with that plane. It flew super, really surprisingly well. At first, I wasn't real thrilled with the packaging. We're gonna see if this one has the same packaging woes.
Yeah.
But the Durafly packaging seems to usually be a little bit better in that regard. We're gonna find out right now. Part of the reason we do the unboxes is because we know you guys are trying to make decisions based on what China tells you online. China has learned the art of telling you whatever you need to hear online, okay? We're gonna help tell you the full truth. Nothing but the truth, so help us God. First things first, looks like a quick start guide flipped out. Okay, so this is packaged, slid in here. I can't tell if it's opens. No, it's not. Okay, they seal them in these bags and then they L-bar seal them. So interesting choice. I definitely don't have a problem with that. It's just a little bit weird. Okay, first impressions. The paint looks really nice. Excuse me. The paint looks really nice. The decals are awesome. Water transfer decals. Everything is taped up and labeled, really pretty. That is a mixing board, is it? No, that's the bomb drop mechanism. Soft, squishy tires, split flaps, inboard, all painted. Wow, really nice looking. We are gonna have to put on control arms, and I'm guessing these are ball links. Really nice pinch hinge design, opaque finish on the bottom, beautiful. Not looking forward to that. Also, we have a spring-loaded landing gear. Also a spring-loaded gear door. It looks like a 90-degree retract. So it's gonna come out, that 90-degree rotation, because it gets to the end of the sweep and then this assembly is going to kick it to the side. We'll see how that works. That's sometimes a fatal flaw. But I gotta say, this little imperfection here is surprising given how perfect the finish is on this plane. Really impressive finish. Nothing like what we were seeing. Oh, and then there'll be a gun that glues on there, it looks like. Nothing like we were seeing on the kit box. The kit box was much more cartoony, and this one is gonna definitely be more scale. Now that's one thing about the Durafly lineup is that you're gonna tend to see more of the scale warbirds in this style. Piece count so far looks reasonable, but I can tell you right now it's gonna be more demanding just because there's gonna be a nut and bolt sack like this for the spinner. Not surprisingly, 3-bladed spinner. and very beautiful spinner. It is painted and gorgeous. Okay, so we're just gonna.
Seems like a big spinner.
It is. A P-40's got a big spinner though, because it's like almost the size of the fuse. Very nice looking. Not plastic, or it is plastic, but it's not yellow plastic. It is painted white. And so I like that. That's gonna look really nice until you get a scuff on it. And then it's gonna look like crap. So don't scuff it ever and you'll be fine.
Perfect.
This is a complaint I had from somebody the other day about how Hobby King always uses proprietary blades and props. They don't always, because they rebrand some stuff too. Some of the stuff they're selling isn't even Hobby King brands. Of course, Hobby King makes the H King brand, and they make the Durafly brand, and then they make some other Avios brand. Ooh, there's an imperfection in that one, look.
Ooh, yeah, I see that.
Big imperfection. Time for that imperfection to be sliced off. Yeah, because I don't want to deal with that. That's going to be ugly otherwise. Hope it doesn't have an imbalance because of that. But if it does, so be it. I'd rather have it imbalanced and have that little imperfection off of there. Just did that with my Unbox knife. Okay, these are numbered. It says 2, 1, and then 2. What? That's weird.
Okay.
I don't understand why there would be 2. Oh, look, another imperfection. Crap, I hope I'm not gonna kick myself for that. If that wasn't an imperfection, guys, I don't know what is. I think I know what's going on though. I think what that is that's the way they mold these. So anyway, somebody was complaining about that in the comments, and that is a fair complaint. Okay, so here's how you resolve that complaint. When you order your plane, if you think you're the type of guy that's gonna for sure need a new prop, especially if you're a newer pilot, just order new props when you order the plane, okay? Follow the links in the video description below, and you can get those parts. It looks like all the components are in this bag. 3 screws, and then 1 long machine screw that's going to hold the spinner assembly together. So we'll just leave those together. The quick start guide came off the bottom. Talks about the center of gravity and some different throws. I never even worry about that crap, but there are people that do. So we'll leave that up to you. Nut and bolt sacks we were talking about. Yeah, there's a few in here too, but it looks like these are mostly plugs, a little bit of Velcro, carbon fiber wing joiner, and then labels. Okay, this is time for complaining. I don't want to put all this stuff on. That is a lot of assembly, okay? If that wing fits in the box like this, that wing can be done.
Yeah.
Now, there are times when you can't do that, and we will immediately accede that that is true. This is not one of them. That could have been fully assembled. Every single one of these controls should have been centered and installed, okay? That's our take. I'm sticking by it. We're gonna beat up every merchant that sells an RC product on planet Earth, okay? I don't care if it's Horizon Hobby, Spectrum, E-Flight, Hobby Zone, FMS, Motion RC, if they worked with us, which they don't. Freewing. It does not matter to me what brand. This is why I want an expert in China, Malaysia, Indonesia, wherever you have people doing this stuff. I want this to come with a baseline. These things are not a big deal. This is not the problem. That's totally cool. These, again, not the problem, totally cool. Again, not the problem, totally cool. Those details, I get it. What I don't get is these things that can be totally installed, okay? This is not an issue, okay? This is really not an issue. So again, not to bemoan the issue, we're gonna point it out every time we see it because there's a reason that manufacturers should do it. Namely, they should be getting it right. It removes ambiguity from newer builders, and I think it's gonna reduce issues with your customers' experiences, okay? That being said, the piece count is still relatively low. And so if I'm proving myself wrong by the end of this video, I'll mention it, okay? Ugh, almost dropped a bomb in my kitchen. That is totally sweet. I love that. Okay, now these usually have magnets, okay? Yeah, magnets, okay? So magnetic, not that. Evidently that's not metal enough. Oh, there's metal up there. Yeah, it'll hold there. So this is going to get ejected from this assembly on the bottom.
Oh, yep.
Yep. Okay, so that's gonna go in there like that.
Cool.
And then when you actuate it, it's going to poop out. Very cool, kind of a pain to film, I'm not gonna lie, because you have to reset. So we'll see that hopefully in action on our maiden flight, okay? So far, I gotta say, packaging, it's been really good, really easy to work with. And yes, everything that I'm pulling out in order, meaning these are now emptied out, okay? So I'm just emptying as I go. You guys may not realize this, but because we have so many aircraft, we typically keep our packaging together. And then our packaging has a new home, and that new home is gonna be part of the gigantic building we're building, okay? Currently, it's like all attic space, and we used to melt a lot of it because we couldn't hang on to it. In fact, when we sold our old house, there were like hundreds of boxes in the attic.
Extra insulation.
Which is true. Okay, so horizontal stabilizers. This is where you really get to see some of the details up close in person. Pinch hinges. I am not gonna sing praises about pinch hinges, but when they're soft and they actually work, I can live with it on a small plane. I'm gonna be honest with you, this is a small plane. This plane seems overly detailed for an 1100 millimeter plane. I am surprised at the level of a paint detail. The paint is very good. It's got a smooth finish. It's not all bumpy and ripply. There's a little bit of that in the sun. This is gonna show up more. I know it will. So if you leave your planes in the sun for long, outings, you're gonna notice that'll wear and tear the finish quite a bit. I love the lock-in design. I love that you're gonna get a good mechanical transfer from one side to the other, but I don't love that we have to hook that. Now this one, again, it is part of the assembly process, meaning you have to put this in first before you can hook it up, so that we give them a pass on that every time, okay? Remember guys, we've put a lot of planes together, so when we gripe about certain details, we wanna make sure we put it in perspective. It's not like we've built 5 planes, we've built probably 500 of them, okay? All right, fuse. Coming out very, very easy. And you'll also notice that we always reverse engineer all the packaging as we go, okay? So I can put it back.
Yes.
It looks good. Feels good. This is not heavy. I'm loving it. Light plane. Very detailed. Impressively detailed. The finish is very good. I mean, very nice. Man.
Decals are nice.
The decals are like perfectly applied. This is what I'm talking about, is having the perfectly applied wet decals on a complex area with these exhaust tubes. Mm-hmm. And then look, oh man, nice. That looks so good. They even have this back here, which would be, this would be protection for the pilot, okay? That is so dang cool. And then there is the motor. And you can see that the wires are small, but big inlet. That's gonna be covered largely by the spinner. And I just love the tiger mouth up front. Looks so cool. And then again, another pinch hinge. So let's hope the pinch hinges don't fail us, because this is an absolutely gorgeous model. I gotta say, it looks really good. And look, even look at the machining for that, the way that they cleanly cut that out. Mm-hmm. You don't see a lot of bumps like this, imperfections in the molding process. It's just not bad. And look, handhold, fuselage tank, 65 US gallons, 100/130 octane. That is cool. I just love how this feels. It's not overly heavy. If it flies half as good as it looks, I'm gonna love this plane, okay? Pulling up on the cover, P-40s can have some terrible battery loading experiences because they're not that big in terms of width. And we've done a few P-40s. In fact, we've done a lot of P-47s that the smaller 1100 and 800 millimeter planes are really difficult to load batteries in, okay? This one looks like it is thought out nicely. So show them the piece count real quick just so you can kind of see a 10,000 foot view. It looks very reasonable.
It does.
Despite my concerns, and they still are concerns with the control arms and ball links. Sometimes we're proven wrong. There have been a few times where it's no big deal, but I'm just thinking about the Spitfire right now because we built the Spitfire and that was a real pain in the neck to put that plane together with the white and bottom, the white and black on the bottom of the wings, absolutely gorgeous and flew really nice.
But we had to do all
so
the decals,
much.
all the little stuff.
Yes, and that was a real pain in the neck to put together, but boy, oh boy, you quickly forgot it when you were flying it. I think...
Are you putting all your sacks back in?
I don't want to jinx this build, but I think that this plane, based on its weight alone, based on its finish, this plane is gonna be really nice. Now, this is, of course, a plug-in fly, so we'll take you through the entire process of installing and setting up the radio system. Now, because of retracts, because of the bomb drop mechanism, we're gonna have to either be creative and make the bomb drop mechanism part of a flap system, so it's tied to it, so you can save a channel, or we're gonna have to add additional channels. Now, obviously we don't need to do a complex wing type because we're not gonna have to worry about doing, you know, like flapper-ons or anything like that. But I don't know if this thing is gonna support thrust reverse yet either. Let's see if we can figure that out real quick. So if we pop this up, there is just a regular throttle. What does that say on there?
Warning, please set the ESC route again before taking off.
I don't know what that means. Okay. So never heard of that word. Look at the mount. The motor mount has two different mounting positions or something.
Yeah, like a forward and a...
That's very weird. So I don't know if they just use the same motor mount for two different motor sizes. That would be quite interesting. But I gotta say, I can usually tell when a plane is light, it's gonna perform well. And this plane just feels light. And I am excited for that. Now, the other thing is it looks like it all bolts together. So this might burn through in terms of build time. It might be pretty reasonable. So I'm trying to decide real quick. I think we should just build this thing right now and get on with it. What do you think? She says yes. I am thrilled about that plan. The reason I say is because I think that it's going to astonish both us and you just how quick it actually goes together.
Yeah.
However, I don't know that for a fact. And this is why. Because sometimes these wings can be a little bit complicated because you see all the wiring there? That crap has to be passed up to this relatively small opening, okay? Oops. Be careful when you do that. See, you're gonna have the receiver, you're gonna have the battery. The battery's gonna go here. I'm assuming they're suggesting a 2200 3S.
4S.
Okay?
22 4S.
2200 4S. So like this Turnigy battery, or one of these, Nanotechs probably. That's the choice. And then alternatively, we're gonna put that up against probably a 2200 4S 50C Smart Pack, okay? Now, obviously the XT60 is gonna mate up with the stock ESC better than the IC3, but we're gonna get that extra kick of power on the 50C pack from Spectrum. This technically is going to be a 45 through 90C discharge from Nanotech, so we should be able to technically push that a little bit harder. I don't know if this one is gonna work because this Turnigy is the shorty style. I'm honestly not sure what to think on that. So we've got a number of different styles, and then if either of those give us problems, we'll go to the China Hobby Lines 2200 4S, but that's only a 30C pack in this application. Might be pushing it a little bit. Did they tell a C rating?
No, not on
They didn't?
Start.
Okay. And this is a smaller plane, so it may not be a big deal. Oh, it's got yellow wheels. That's gonna be so cool.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so now that we know kind of what battery we're working on, let's go ahead and get those charging. We'll just show you the Nanotech and we'll show you the smart charging simultaneously real quick so we can get these things going. So one of the reasons why we really push and promote these smart batteries is because A, we have a ton of them. B, I don't like auto discharging, so this battery management circuit that's up here will automatically take care of that for us. So when I plug this in, you'll notice it's already automatically discharged, which makes it super, super easy to actually get it fired up and charging. And then for this, because of course we're using a Spectrum charger, we need to make an adapter plug that goes into our regular IC3 connection. In this case, it's an EC3 over to an XT90, or excuse me, XT60. And then the XT60 allows us to plug in to this smart charger. And then we can use the balance lead, plug that in. We can see it populates the data on the screen for the charge level, and 2.2 amps is fine. So we'll go ahead and start this at a 1C charge rate. You can see it's not a super long process to start charging that. But then of course we'll swap these out when they get to a complete state and get some more charge so they're ready to fly, okay? So in order to build these planes, there are 47 different ways you could do it. But the easiest way I've found is to just get your tools and start putting them together. Usually that means ignoring the instructions because they'll tell you the instructions a certain way to do it. But I'm gonna just do it whatever way I trip and fall into it. Okay, so right now, let's look at this together. We have this spot where the prop is gonna go. And I'm trying to see if there's any identifying numbers because we have a 1, a 2, and a 2, which is very interesting to me because I don't understand why there would be a difference. Okay, so let's just assume there isn't a difference, okay? See that's got that little tail up at the top? See that? Mm-hmm. That's not supposed to be remaining, but I'm gonna go ahead and just snap these in. 1, 2, and then 2. Yeah, I don't really understand why that would matter. But as you can see, that goes together pretty easy. And then we're gonna have to use screws to then hold this assembly to each other. One of the easiest props we've built in a while that's a detailed prop. Let's use this number 4, excuse me, 4mm Phillips to put these screws in. You put those in from the face and screw it down, and that's gonna hold it into position. I'm not sure I like that 4mm. I'm gonna go up to a 5 and see if I can get away with it. It might be a little too big. Yeah, it is, so we probably do have to stick with that 4. Let me try 3. I just didn't like the way 4 felt. This 3 feels like it's gonna be too small. So we've got one of those ambiguous middle sizes. Okay, back to 4mm it is. Okay, so you really got to press hard so you don't strip that tip as you go in. Okay, remember you just need purchase here. This would probably hold together without any screws at all. Of course, if you were to miss a screw, that would cause it to be way out of balance, so don't do that. Okay. So just screwing this in until we feel full purchase, but don't over tighten it because you'll strip that screw like I started to do there, if you look close. Soft screws, okay? Then this is eventually going to go down and seat this on there, but we can't actually do that just quite yet because we need to assemble this onto the aircraft. Now, again, it's a little bit unusual to start with the spinner, but I just figured, hey, it's like when you're trying to eat an elephant, what's the fastest way? One bite at a time, okay? So we're gonna just go ahead and put the spinner on and mount this Of course, if you're brand new to the hobby, it might not be a great idea to put the motor on first. You can wait and do this after the fact, and then you'll have a little added safety and security. So I'm gonna grab myself a crescent wrench, or in our case, a non-crescent wrench, because this is not a crescent brand. It's just a sizable wrench, okay? So first things first on this, pretty easy process. We're gonna take this, pull off the nut and this washer that sits behind it. Normally we would start with the tail. Okay, so that's pretty simple. Then drop this off. But I'm just doing this whatever order it comes up. Oh, good. That's keyed. Okay, so this is going to slide in. I'm trying to reach from behind to see if I can stop the motor from spinning, but I can't. You see what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna hold this up. Oh, I got lucky. See what I'm saying? This spins until it bites. Once it bites, you can slide it back. See that? So if you're not lined up, it won't go down. Then you can actually grab that shaft and spin it. Yep, there it goes. See what I'm talking about? Look at that clearance, beautiful clearance, okay? So now we can go ahead and drop this washer on and then this nut. Now, the beauty of this setup is because this is all keyed together, I don't have to worry about holding the motor stator or the bell housing. I can just drop it on the table or the counter, get my crescent, or in this case, sizable wrench to the point where I can torque this down on this modified prop shaft. And then that's gonna receive the central screw that's gonna poke through and then go into that threaded hole. Okay, so remember what we were talking about earlier, how we had the complainant in our comments talking about, hey, you know, I don't like these hobby game products because, would you grab me that 3 or 4? Just start with the 3 or 4. I don't get these hobby game products anymore because I need the bigger one, please. Thank you. This is the 4, guys. Because when I get them, I have a hard time getting the props. Because, okay, go up to the 5, please. This is 4. We're gonna go to 5. I'm trying to reach into here so I can get purchase, and then I'm holding down, but I'm holding mid prop because those prop blades are not as strong as you might think. And I can break them, okay? So that looks absolutely sick, beautiful fit. And I'm not sure if this is supposed to be the same color, but either way, I love it, okay? So love the yellow prop. Now I am gonna get a plane stand right now, full disclosure. I'm gonna go into the dark abyss of the Brian Phillips RC production offices. So just a run-of-the-mill Robark plane stand. By the way, if you're brand new to the hobby, you don't have a plane stand, don't worry, just use your wife's blankets until you like cut a hole in one with your P-51. Mm-hmm. I know from experience, it's a great way to do it.
Yep.
The plane stand's cheaper than your wife's blanket, I promise you.
It is.
Okay, both in dollars and cents. Common sense, okay? All right, so this is clearly going to receive this rod. Okay, so that passes through like that. Beautiful. It goes way further than half. That's something that we've noticed with the Hobby King products, is that you'll get wing joiners that do stuff like that, but I can live with it. My concern is, are we supposed to be gluing this? No, it's got screws. Or is it supposed to be glued?
Are
Here.
these plugs?
Yeah, I get that they're plugs. What I'm saying is, are they supposed to be screwed? And the answer is, okay, so that goes in like that. Then this is, okay, so there's a ball link that's gonna have a bolt that goes through there. This is gonna go around the outside, so I gotta put this in now. See what I'm talking about? It goes further than halfway. I don't know why they do that. So it definitely fits in there. Okay, so just viewed from the side, you can tell this will eventually be held up there with the ball link being passed through. That's gonna actuate the elevator, okay? So now we need to figure out what hardware is gonna hold those into the sides and whether or not we need to glue that. It appears that we're glueless. So not clueless, but glueless. All right, so this is for the rudder. That's the elevator. This is for the elevator. Look, this is labeled elevator. Very nice. Okay, step that way, please. So now what I need to do is I'm just going to go ahead and assemble the elevator from the elevator hardware bag. It says elevator. It's always very handy. That's clearly what I need to wire this through. Look, see the ball link? I pass this through. I'm going to have to go through from this side so I can get my screw into it. That looks like a 1.5 millimeter. Let's check. Yes, it is. And then here's a nut. That nut is going to be kind of hard to hold because I'll have to reach around from the backside. So what I'm going to use is forceps to grab this nut. I'm going to flip it upright. You guys see that tip? You want the nylon to be toward the fuse, and that's going to go back here and then hold and receive the backside of the bolts here. Okay, so it's going to be a bit of a forceps you can hang on to like that, and then you don't have to actually hold that. It'll hold the nut for you. And then you can take and hold this with your fingertip. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this, and I know that I need it to be this way. Okay. This is going to be kind of tricky. I should probably put all the rest of this crap in, but this will allow me to move things around a little bit more. So through the hole, straight down, and just pass it through. Kind of, I'm threading it as I go to kind of hold things together. And I'm going to hold this right there. Just going until I feel the first purchase of the thread. I bit that totally the wrong direction, folks. Ooh, there we go. Okay, now that it's bit, I can let go of my forceps. Okay. Then come around and grab it from the other side and just work it all the way in. Now this can be hopefully all the way tight. But you see it's bending that plastic a little bit. See how it's bending that? Mm-hmm. Not a fan of that part, but I am a fan of how easy that went together. Now, look, there's one weird one and 4 of these ones. Let's figure out what I screwed up, because I'm sure I screwed something up. Because why would they have an additional screw involved? Let's learn why. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hun, why do you suppose they have an extra screw?
I don't know.
Because look, these are elevator parts too. See? But why would you need this weird one? Did I like miss something? When I was putting the 2 halves together, was there another step I was supposed to do? And if so, yep, I see where it is, guys. I see where I missed it. It's right there. See it? No, look, I just found it. You see where I found it? Mm-hmm. So yes, we can still salvage it, no big deal. So I'm gonna go to 4 or 5, probably 5 millimeters. Let's see if 5 millimeters works. Too big, we have to go back to 4. A lot of in-between sizes here today. So here's 4. I'm gonna hold this on the tip, see if I can guide that in. And there it is, I'm in the hole. That's gonna hold the 2 halves of the assembly together. Torque it down beautifully, okay? Still with the 4. Put 1 more screw on. Can't go this way. Got to flip the fuse. And then I'm going to just find, these are all the same. I think. Let's try. Nope, they're not the same. Okay, so I'm going to lay this down. How is that going to pop in? There we go. Okay, so that's in. And I guess I'm just gonna have to guess and check and see which one goes where, because there isn't like really a super definitive, obvious way to tell. But I don't want to mar it up. It's pretty dang close. I am not certain that that's correct, but I think it's correct. I also think that this is correct, but again, not certain. And I'm sort of reluctant to flip it over, but I'm gonna have to flip it over to verify before we continue. So then, same thing here. You see this is allowed to move. this is gonna check that so it can't. And see, it's got these grooves that go around. Those grooves, you can sort of set them in there and then press them into place. And they do feel like there might be a correct way and an incorrect way. Let's go to the back first. I just hope I don't, you see that? See how the paint line is kind of a little bit different? See, this one's got more of an upward angle. That must be the front. So you got to drop that in there first. Slide it down in, drop. This is kind of a weird assembly. We've not seen something like this for a while. Okay, press that together. I think that one's right. This one here, yeah, I think it's also right. So I'm pressing that in and then popping it into its place, okay?
That one has a weird paint line on it.
Yeah, it's high, but you know, I don't think that they're jigged on the plane. Yeah, see that one's a little bit low. That one's a little bit high. You want to swap them and see if it fixes it? I don't think it will.
It probably won't. It'll just be the same problem on the other side.
Well, we'll see right now. Let's take one for the team and try it. Okay, so we'll put that back down. If they were labeled, I apologize. I didn't see anything. Hey, so what are you doing? There you go. God, that was a huge waste of time. That did not change anything that I can tell. Shoot. Okay. That one doesn't fit, actually. It does not line up. It's like it doesn't want to go there. What am I hitting? I'm hitting something. That doesn't want to drop in there, hon.
Okay.
Okay. Can you go back so they can see what I'm doing? So I'm going to switch these back out. Yeah, that one fits, the other one didn't. Paint lines do not line up.
Okay.
I don't really care. It's not a big deal. It wasn't that big of a deal. If it is, I'll let you guys know, at least in my opinion. I didn't think it was that big a deal. A little bit of guess and check there. Not a fan of guessing and checking. That's spinning free though, okay?
Okay.
That I don't like, okay? Then this one, let's see if this one also spins free. And when I say spins free, I mean, I know that I can over torque screws pretty easy. But like, look at this, guys. I'm not even really trying. You'll over torque them. You'll spin them if you're not careful. Also, let's look at this. Here's the rudder. Since we're right here, let's put the rudder in. This is why I said we're just going to start. Okay, look, rudder. Pretty simple. We grab these tools. And what I do is I just stack bags over here so I can keep them into perpetuity. I'm not going to forget that. Don't you worry, guys. So rudder. I'm only doing this because I'm literally touching the area where the rudder is going to need to receive this. Now, one thing I am going to say to Hobby King's defense in this particular model, I love the fact that because it's so basic, so simple, there really isn't a lot of ambiguity as to where these things go, okay? And this is on the heels of me just trying to figure out those stupid clip things, I realize. Okay. So now I've got this ball link that needs to be swiveled. See how I just spun that? We're almost certainly gonna have to screw with that, but whatever. I'm gonna just hold the nut right there. I assumed I was gonna need to hold this with the forceps so I could actually hold it still. Now you could have screwed that from above or below. I don't know that it would have made a difference, but I just happened to choose the top and that's fine with me. It doesn't really matter to me. And eventually we'll wanna make sure that we maintain clearance here, okay? I can tell right now that this is gonna need to be screwed in some because of just the general nature of this compared to the rudder. Okay, so I'm not surprised we're gonna have to adjust that, and I won't be surprised when I have to adjust it later. I already know that we're gonna have to. Then these two screws, I'm just sliding them over so I can see them next to my bracketry to hold the other side of the horizontal stabilizer. So I'm gonna just flip the plane upside down here. I'll try to spin it so you guys get a view of it. Okay, so this one, again, you guys can see how this kind of clips in there. It sort of like nudges the horizontal stabilizer into a correct position, but it doesn't do an especially good job of it, in my opinion. I think it's probably a, you know, I probably would have rather just glued the dang thing in. It would have been a lot easier to just throw a little China glue on there. That being said, you can take this apart. If you China glue it together, you can't take it apart. So, well, I mean, you can, but you're gonna lose paint and stuff like that. Okay, that one went in pretty good. So then that's gonna give us our support. I would not be surprised if we have to take these back apart to adjust our centers. But guys, look how off this is compared to that. I guarantee you that's gonna have to get sucked in here. Can you, like, can they see that? Mm-hmm. See this, the threads? That's gonna have to be brought in there. In fact, it's so far off. Why don't we go ahead and adjust that a little bit? Because I'm having cringe moments in my brain about maybe not remembering that for some stupid reason. I'm just gonna rotate that. Just grabbing the nut, snapping it on with my forceps. I'm just gonna let this undo. Then I'm gonna pull this out. Can do the last little bit by hand. Then I'm gonna run this in by hand, but I have to hold this, so I'm gonna let go of my nut. I'm gonna hold on to the shaft with more threads so that this can be spun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, now I can just hold this close to where I think it's gonna be. It needs to be inside a little bit. So a couple more turns, 1/2, 1, get the ball link about straight. That's just past center. We need to go a little bit more. There's 1/2 more. It's getting closer. You can just simulate where it's gonna be and then just look at the differential in angles. Go here so they can see these two angles. I think I need to go in. There we go. Hun, here. See this, how it's turned inboard, and that is inboard? See that? Inboard, inboard. Then if I were to negotiate the wheel to a center position by actuating the servo, you can tell that this is gonna be pretty dang close to center. So I think that's, let's guide this through and see how it does if we go the other direction this time. I'm curious to see if it'll go. Can you go back to where you were? Thank you. See, once that's in, then I can cheat the servo. I gotta push this all the way through. It's kind of threading into the plastic. It's not a big deal. But once it's threaded into the plastic, I'm just trying to save myself the trouble later. And to be honest, I'm just bringing trouble on myself right now. Okay, so just finding the head of the bolt, starting it without cross-threading it, hopefully. Okay. Now I can turn this to where it's more or less centered, and you can see the rudder centered. Turn it to the right, turn it to the left, turn it to the center. It's pretty dang close. Now there are set screws for adjustment of this apparatus too, but I would say right now we're probably just a hair off on these two. If I were to go 1/2 a turn out, 1/2 of a turn on this turnbuckle end, this would, I think it would end up being a disparity the other direction. So we're close enough now that we can just call that even. And when I say call it even, I mean we can call it even as good as we're gonna get it for now. Right. So I'm just gonna hold on to the nut with my tool and then torque this down, get it to where it bites. And sometimes that pulls everything square, even just a little bit more than what you had before. Oh yeah, that's hard on the servo. Come on. See how it's not wanting to spin? That's because the servo got to a certain spot. Okay. Guys, you see what I'm doing here? Can you see this, guys? See with my finger? I'm actuating the servo. It's hard on the servos to do that, by the way. So I don't do that very often. But there it is. So we've got that pretty close to success. Now we have to finish the rest of the assembly. It's going together really quick. I mean, look, we're down to like just a few parts now, which is pretty cool. So putting away my drives, the 1.5 millimeter drive and the 4 millimeter, very popular Phillips drive. Obviously, we're gonna have to put the wing on at some point. And we gotta put on a couple of these decorative things. I think we have to, by rights, just wait on the decorative things. There are some screws here involved. We also have this, which is a splitter for the flap and then a splitter for the aileron. It looks like two Y splitters. We are gonna be using splitters because we're not gonna be separating those out. So I suppose we could actually technically mount those, even though we aren't gonna be doing radio setup just right yet. Just one bag down. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So two Y cables. Now they've got all this stuff taped down. This, of course, is being treated as the gear. They put gear on there. Interesting. Flap. I do notice there's no LEDs on this plane. I'm not sure if I want this here or not, because the thing is, when we go to put this in the plane, you're not going to be able to do anything with it. So it's got to be untaped. So at some point, we're going to have to mount the wing. We're all in agreement. But until such a time, we need to pull this bundle off. And then this bundle is going to have to get passed up to something else. I'm just going to go ahead and put this tape very gently back down on itself. I'm not going to press real hard because we might want to undo this in just as soon as a couple of minutes. So I want to be careful I don't go too nuts. So I'm going to put a tail on the end, okay? Just a loose bond. There's a flap. See how this says flap? We're gonna go color for color. This on the Y splitter. The yellow goes to yellow and the brown goes to brown. Pretty straightforward stuff. I'm assuming this is the other flap, but I guess I'm not 100% certain because there isn't a label on that one.
I saw a flap somewhere else, right under your finger.
Under my finger?
Well, you were...
There's 10 of them here.
Right there.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and grab that. So now this one's gonna be black to brown. So from the Futaba Hextronics to Hextronics color code, so black to brown and orange to white, okay? So that's gonna give us our white cable for the flaps, and then we're gonna do the ailerons if we can figure out what they are. There's one aileron. Looks like we've got the JR Hextronics color code. So we're gonna go yellow to yellow. Then that's gear, and that's the other aileron, okay? So again, aileron right there, we've got yellow. We're gonna go yellow to yellow. Just take my word for it because my fingers are covering it up, likely. All right, so there's that. And then we've got whatever this is. That is the, that's gotta be the gear, right? No, that's the bomb drop. What? Oh, it's a sequencer. Look, this is that the bomb drop?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Yeah, that spins. That is. It's a servo that spins, but then this is a sequencer for the gear. The sequencer opens the gear door and the gear. So you've got gear here, and then you've got bomb drop here, okay? So let's pull on the, yeah, there is extra length on that, okay? And then there is not extra length on the bomb drop. So we'll have to be kind of careful how we assemble this so that we don't undermine our ability to reach, okay? So this part's gonna be a little tricky. It does come with, looks like 4 screws to hold the wing on. And then it comes with this drive. Let's see what size these are. Those are Phillips. So what the heck was that for? That must be for the ones that we already drove that were 1.5s. Okay. For the sake of putting the plane upside down, I'm going to put this nose battery cover back on. I probably should have had that on earlier. And now that I do that, I'm going to immediately need to take it back off. Okay, so let's just put this plane upside down and see if we can get lucky enough to pass all that crap down there without too much trouble. Show them the retaining, the holes that we're going to be passing through. Give them a close-up shot of that. See this? These are going to go through here. Okay, and that's going to hold the wing together. So we're going to have those handy, 4 of them. And then what we're going to do is we're going to drop this on with that, okay, passing in and through, right? So this will go flat in. It's not like we have to rock it in, but we have to at least have all this crap go up to the front because that's the only place you're going to be able to reach it, okay? So yes, I did leave my tape on there, and yes, that was a good move, okay? You guys see what's going on now? I have one other thought. This is going to be right there. So is there a reason we wouldn't want to try to bring these wires right here? My issue is I've done this a number of times, and I can tell you right now that what's going to end up happening is we're going to have to mount the receiver. I can almost tell from just the way this is going together that we're going to have the receiver mounted here because we only have 3 wires from up above. We have the rudder, the elevator, and the throttle that could pass down to the receiver. I've done this enough times. I fear that's the way it's going to end up having to be. Because like I'm just going to show you, for instance, I'm going to pass all these wires through one of these holes. And that'll get us to a very, very workable spot up top, but it's going to take up where we need to put the battery, I'm guessing. Okay. So let's just go ahead and pass all that crap up with the understanding that there's going to be a lot of extra junk up there. Now, I'm not going to put all the screws in, but I am going to pass this through. Okay. So it went through the middle hole. Did you give them a shot of that so they could see it?
Yeah, I tried to.
You could see it?
As much as
go up there and make it so that they can see where it's going. So it's going through one of the wooden holes in that plate, okay? And so part of the problem is once this drops down, first of all, it's hard to tell if you're getting all the wires through, which I do not know yet, okay? And you won't know. You won't know. Ordinarily, you'd want to have that seated down, but you can't, and you can tell it's not seated down, okay? Do you guys see where I'm going with this? When I open this, you're going to see all those wires coming out. Okay, so now, once you get all these wires out, you have to make sure they all come forward so that you can plug them into a receiver. Okay, so you guys see kind of the problem. This is something we have problems with from time to time, especially I've had P-40s that are exact same problem before. Because you just run into weird spots where you can't quite fit everything. Dang. Reminds me of that Spitfire now. So I'm just looking up there and I'm thinking, if you would have put it all the way to that back hole where I was thinking initially, you'd lose all your length. And by the way, I'm still trapped with something. Yeah, there's still a little bit in there. So what I've done is I opened up the wing root. I'm looking right there and you can see those wires. Once you get your eyes on the wires, you can sort of chase it up in there. Ooh, there it is. I think we hit the sweet spot where it's going to let me drop in. I don't know. I'm nervous about that because like all those wires, I don't like having to force it like that. See what I'm doing? I'm trying to close that all the way down, and it's resistant. Resistance at the end is usually not a good sign. That means that you're lined up with something. You remember that wire for the bomb drop mechanism? It went over the top of that rail or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be in a position where I'm having to tuck that in so tight and I'm pinching the cables if it can be avoided. It may not be avoidable. It's kind of what I'm leaning toward, is it's probably unavoidable at this point. But you guys see all this beautiful work, and now the fitment is going to go out the window. Dang it. It's too pretty to have it wrong. I got to think for a second. They gave us these assemblies here that's going to cover up 2 or 3 spots right on the bottom, okay? There's 2 screws. This piece is going to get trapped in here, okay? Or is that going to go here? It's going to go there, okay? Just like that. That's a really nice fit. It's going to cover up a lot of that indisparity. But then there's these. That cannot be the design. You gotta be kidding me. You see what I'm talking about? So when you press that down and you say, it doesn't seem like it fits. Well, I don't think we're the first people to have that problem, because they put a plug to fill it. And to be honest, it seems like it might work, but oh my goodness.
How does that plug attach?
It looks like a screw. There was 2 screws in the bag. That's very weird. Very weird. Yeah, I don't like that at all. So yeah, so like I think that is the way it goes. Because just looking at the way this goes, I don't see any other way to do it. I mean, there's a million ways to skin this cat. Let's not be fools about it, Brian. It's just, I don't think there's an easy way to do it. I think that that's the way to do it.
Does the bomb drop one have to go through a different hole so it's not over that little bulkhead thingy?
I just don't think we're going to have that much compression from the screws. Maybe that's what you have to do. Let's look at that option. Let's look at that option. Okay. Yeah, I mean, no, it's not getting pinched, I don't think, because it's in the middle. There's a relief there. There's a relief there.
Okay.
You've got at least this 1/4 inch gap. I don't think that's the problem, hon.
Okay.
No, it's going to be a fool's errand to try to take that all apart. Because we're going in where that plywood is. There's a little bit of a relief, and I can actually see that wire on top of there, right there, in front of my middle finger. You see that? Mm-hmm. It's not touching. There's a good 1/4 inch gap above my middle finger. You need to step back half a step. Thank you. So what I'm going to try to do now is I'll try to we'll screw it together. We're not going to try. We're going to do that. But if you're at this step and you're thinking to yourself, geez, Brian, is that really the way it goes together? And the answer to that question would be, yeah, maybe. Are there other ways to do it? Yeah. Is it going to be easier? No. It's going to be worse. I'm trying the bigger screwdriver this time. Yeah, again, doesn't fit. Have to go with the smaller 4mm. These are all the same length. So I'm assuming that they're all going to go in the same way. This fits really nice down here, okay? No problems at all. Really easy fitment, okay? I'm a little bit nervous about that front. We might have to have that plastic crap mounted first, okay? Looking for puckering here. A little bit of puckering. That basically tells you that you have the plastic displaces into a larger bite point and it pulls that foam down. So I'm basically pulling down with my left hand on the shaft here. It's not working that great, but then I can turn really fast with my right hand to help guide this in. Okay, ready? So look at that. See how it's puckering, 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 puckering a little bit more. Okay, good enough. So now we're gonna go to the front. We're gonna hope for the best. Again, guys, there are times in these builds where it just, you think, that can't be the way, and it just is the way. This time I can do it with one hand, so I can press with this hand. You notice I'm pressing in front of the plastic. It'd be nice if I could press on the plastic, but I just don't want to damage this right here where the lip is. So I'm gonna move it back just a hair. I don't think I'm getting purchase at all. Now I am. See what I had to do? Run it all the way down. There, it's gone. But I think it's just guiding itself through the plastic. Nope, it's puckering.
It's definitely pulling it in.
Okay, if it pulls it in, I'm fine with it. Is it pulling it tight along this?
Yeah, it is.
All right, I'll take yes for an answer. So folks, I just want to stop and talk about this for a minute. P-47, P-51, big difference in width of the fuse. Same thing with the P-40. It's got a narrow fuse. Same thing with the Spitfire. You know, P-47's wide. You've got more room. But all the Warbirds have similar problems at times. A lot of times we have something to catch here and then rock back. This one is just, that's it. This goes in here like that. And then there appears to be, like literally they give you these two little screws, like you're supposed to just zip those in. And I almost can't believe that that's what they want done. Like, where do you screw those into? And then this goes here. Are you supposed to like glue it together? So that's probably one of those times where it's like, I'm gonna have to actually know how to do that. My guess is we're supposed to screw these in, and that's the retention for that forward facing piece. But like, why are there not holes in that plastic? Or is that supposed to go some other direction?
They were in the same bag, right?
They were all together.
Everything.
That's why they're all being considered in this equation.
Right.
Okay. We do have antenna, looks like a pitot tube or a gun. Another antenna. That's an antenna support. Antenna support, crosshairs. Those are easy to add. Those are details, so we can leave these over here for now. So yeah, we are down to that step. Like, we're pretty much ready to put it on. The only other thing after that is the aileron and flap linkages, which we're gonna have to do here shortly. But that's really gonna be that's gonna be a function of radio setup, because we can't really install those properly until we have the radio set up. The elevator and rudder are just, you know, they're all out there, easy to get to. So my issue is now, we have to find out how the heck to put that, I believe that would be some sort of a exhaust fairing. And it's just a Phillips screw. Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna have to look it up. We're gonna see if we can find it quick and come right back to you. Okay, so we're just gonna admit, early releases, sometimes we have problems. We don't have access to the full manual yet. You will when you get this. So this thing has a box in it, okay? See how it's got a box? This is a box. That means it's gonna take up structural fatigue that would otherwise be placed by pushing right there, okay? That's also where it needs to be pressed, okay? In my opinion. From a structural standpoint, that's where the screw should go, okay? Why is there not a hole in it? I don't know. You could glue that in if you wanted, I guess. Because ultimately, we're gonna have to glue this thing in anyway. Or at least glue it in, and then you'll be able to take the wing off, but you'll still be able to take it off by undoing the screws. So, whatever you do, you gotta be able to get down to these screws. So you see what I'm saying? Like, there isn't a good way to do this. So we came up with a bad way to do it, okay? Here's the bad way. I'm gonna hold this with my forceps. I'm gonna clip it on. I don't fear screwing up the threads because it's not gonna be a problem. And then I'm just gonna heat this up like this. Trying to heat the tip of the screw and not necessarily the tip of the forceps. Let me give that to the count of like 10, 15. So this will be toasty, so don't burn yourself. And kids, get help from your parents for this step if you're doing this with by yourself. Once you get that laid in place, don't do anything. Then you can still turn this even though it's bit onto the forceps. Okay? And that's just gonna slowly work its way into the plastic. Okay, do me a favor, put your hand on there now. Just hold down. I need you to resist rotation. So go to that side, thank you. There you go, good job. Okay, so you see what I'm doing, guys? Now I'm stuck between those members of plastic. Okay, now I can let go with the forceps, and then I can hold it in with the forceps like this. I'm holding in toward the center of the fuse. Okay, and I'm just guiding this in, and I'm heat sinking it with the forceps. Okay, so it's not even hot to the touch. So that just means I'm following through the threads. And now I have a perfectly threaded hole on my plastic. And I'm hoping I reach down deep enough to hit whatever it is we're supposed to hit, which is supposed to be structural plywood. I don't think they're long enough to reach, but there's definitely something holding there. Okay, now, is that enough to make this satisfactory in my book? The answer is no. So guess what? Guess what? It's time for China glue. So China glue is going to be broken out, and I'm just going to show you this. You could use CA if you wanted, but China glue is going to work better for this because you may have to rip this out someday, okay? Or if you're doing belly landings, you may not want this. I'm going to only glue this side, and I'm going to only glue it a little bit, and I'll just spread it with the tip because I can, okay? That's it. Then I'm just going to take that little string and just drop it along and then hit the rest of it. Now you could let that cook off if you want, and it's going to give you a lot of resistance when you stick it in, enough that it won't come out when you're flying. But I want to put it in now while it's wet so I can spread the glue the first time, okay? Then I'm going to just rock it into position where I want, and I'm going to work it just a tiny bit back and forth, and I'm going to rock it in. I'm pressing it in this direction and rolling it forward. Then I'm going to slather it out as I pull out, okay? So just a tiny little bit of glue, and we're going to lay this aside. Now, China glue works really good. It's not a problem to have a little bit of China glue on this. I'm very disappointed that there weren't more clear instructions for us. That all being said, there will be clearer instructions for you. At the time of filming, we did not have access to the manual, but you will by the time you get yours. So check out the link in the video description below. If you want to buy one, support Brian Phillips RC, and then you can go ahead and order from there. Using fire to build foam models is not usually the best practice, but we do it occasionally. And it is actually kind of a lifesaver. That worked really good for us. But if you don't have access to fire, or if your parents won't let you have access to fire, then that might not be the way for you. So now this is going to stick if you don't get it in quick enough. Okay, now that's in and it's stuck in. Okay. Okay. So that's going to stay, and it's beautiful and it's gorgeous. Now, I got to say, this plane looks fantastic, really fantastic. And yeah, that detail matters, okay? It looks good, and it makes the look, okay? Put the bomb in there. That is so dang cool. So I'm super excited to see this thing together. Now, even though I'm excited to see it together, I am going to be wise, and I'm not going to glue on all the ordnance things yet, because those things are going to be in the way through the entire build. 1, 2, 3 guns. And then where's the other one? There's one more. Where is the other one? Because there should be one here. And then
Yep.
is there one up there?
I don't know. I don't see a hole up here.
Well, I know there's this one. That's going to be the gun sights. Then there's going to be the gun.
Is there another one on the front of the other wing?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Another
No.
pitot tube thing?
You know what? Maybe. But I know that's the gun sights, the gun. The vertical part that goes up here, there's one more of them though. I just don't see the relief for it. And maybe I'm missing it. Guys, I apologize. I just don't know where it is. So we'll have to look at does it show on the box? Look on the box.
One, the sight, that antenna.
Sight, yeah, the main one. Yeah, I don't see it on the other wing. Where does it go? Because normally you'd have, there'd be a string, like an antenna pulled. I don't see it
See anything?
anywhere.
Nothing off the bottom. I don't know.
Where the heck is it?
Maybe we'll have to find like a real picture or something and see if
Yeah.
we can see where there might be.
Either way, I'm super excited to see this thing fly, but we do have a little bit more work ahead of us. Eventually, we'll probably be doing a shelf liner trick for our battery holding. But I got to be honest with you, we're a long ways away from the batteries, guys, because we have to be able to get the receiver mounted, and we're going to have to figure a way, because it looks like the battery is supposed to go up in here, okay? So we're going to have the battery lead coming out. I don't see the thrust reverse cable that would normally be an additional orange singular line, okay? So not probably a big deal on this size of model, but we'll find out. It depends on how fast it lands. Split flaps are not usually as effective, so sometimes we need the reverse thrust more on these smaller models, which is ironic. I think the receiver is going to be fine. It's probably going to be mounted on the side, or it's going to be mounted flat here, and then we'll just come up in here. So we'll like an end pin. So like an AR630 probably, or 631. We can go in and do a top, or an AR637T, but I really don't think this is the echelon for 637T, even though you would get that battery telemetry. And speaking of batteries, we've got our batteries charged up and ready to rock and roll. And guys, here on Brian Phillips RC, we want to show you the full truth and nothing but the truth, so help us God. And that includes sometimes the frustrating steps of a build. And that's not to say that they're not some sort of insurmountable odds to get a plane like this together. But there are some times where you really run into difficulties that are easily addressed by just having watched somebody else try it, like passing through that hole. Made it pretty easy. It wasn't too bad at that point. But cable management is going to be of the utmost on this. And so I think we're going to want end pins, and then we're going to just push this all back in there. And it's going to be kind of a mess of cables back there, but it should be okay. So my next move is probably we're going to pause, reset, and get everything ready to go for that. And then we will see you guys on the flip side. All right, so we're back. We're gonna set up the NX8 with a receiver. Now, as you guys already know, we've been thinking about this out loud a little bit throughout the series or throughout the build, but this thing has ailerons, elevator, rudder, throttle, retracts, flaps. Is that everything? Bomb drop.
Yep.
That's 7 channels, okay? Why do we not want to do an AR8360T? Because this costs more than the plane probably, or it's close to it. AR631, we're going to try to make this work, and I'm going to show you my process. Obviously, 2 extra channels makes things a lot easier. You can follow our process and skip some of the BS to make this work, which might require a splitter cable of sorts, or a splitter cable of sorts, or just like an extension cord or something, depending on how we wire it in. Yes, I know you're thinking just use port mapping and you can use the bind port on there. No, you would have to have an Avian ESC that could use the serial controls through port nothing, which would be the bind plug, the SRXL2 plug. Then you could reassign the first channel to run something like this, but there's a variety of things that have to be done exactly right in order for that to work. And it's not going to make sense to put an Avian ESC in this to avoid buying a more expensive receiver. If you know for sure you don't want to do port mapping and we can't get it done, we'll switch to this. This is end pin. This happens to be top pin. The reason that we're using a 631 is because I like the external antenna in this size class, and I've only got like one 630. So I'm saving that for a plane that I can't put a 631 in, okay? Hopefully that gives you all the details. This has end pin, it'd be good. And it also adds the feature of barometer, which we don't need, and the micro PH1S tap, which would give us the voltage or pack telemetry, which is really helpful, but truthfully unnecessary on this application, in my opinion. Once you fly a Warbird, you're gonna tend to fly it about the same way. You're gonna tend to have similar flight times, okay? So in order to do this, we obviously don't have any of our linkages set on the wings, but we do on the elevator rudder, steerable tail wheel. Throttle, of course, will be set up. None of the wiring is done, but what we have to do is we have to start somewhere. So how do we start somewhere? One bite at a time, we're gonna start with this. We're gonna build a profile, we're gonna pretend like we're using this, and then later, if we need it, we'll just put this in instead and plop this back into the package, okay? So you'll have to watch and understand and learn along with us. Because here on Brian Phillips RC, we teach people how to do stuff. We don't just necessarily show doing it, although we do show doing it a lot as well. Okay, so we have 3 different battery types we talked about. We'll probably use the 2200 4S as our test platform, because really I think the Nanotech higher C pack is gonna be a good fit for this particular aircraft. So we need to have battery ready, we need to have this ready. So we'll go ahead and pop out the staple and get this ready to plop in there. Now, the first step when you're setting up a radio system like this is you have to set up your transmitter to have a profile that it can then be operating on, okay? So we're gonna go through that process because it's gonna be the same regardless of which receiver we use, with the exception of there'll be some fancy mixing to try to get the bomb drop to work, which is what we need to do in practice here. So we're gonna try that together. We're gonna work through it. Just take this stuff out, slide this out of the antenna, out of the plastic. Be a little bit careful, Brian. The last 28 millimeters of that is the part that you're most careful with. You don't want to kink this stuff because it's like a coax cable, okay? All right, so we don't actually need that out just quite yet, but we're gonna build a profile now, and we're gonna do it with the understanding that the 6 channel is how we're gonna do it, okay? So we've got a couple of Y cables here. All that stuff is ready to rock and roll. And so for a normal setup, we're gonna turn on the transmitter. We're gonna hit cancel and back and go to add new model, okay? We're gonna create an acro, because that's what we're gonna start from, the basics. And then we're gonna go to model type, we've already set, and then model name, we're gonna type it in. So this is the H-King P-40 1.1 meter, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll be right back. Sorry guys, Durafly P-40 1.1 meter. I said H-King, my apologies. Okay, aircraft type, this is where it's gonna get a little bit weird because we have to set the wing type. It's gonna be a regular 1 aileron, 1 flap, even though it's a split flap, doesn't matter, and it's got a regular tail. So it's not really even all that difficult. And then we're gonna go from the standard image file, we'll find a Warbird that looks similar. I think we have a P-47. Do we have a P-40? Spitfire's close. Ooh. I don't know. Which one would you do? I think that's like an FW-190.
Well, the P-47 or the Spitfire. Close.
P-51.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's not a right or wrong. Okay, so flight mode setup. This is all going to be the same for either of the 2 transmitter or receivers. So we're going to go with this one. Sorry, I'm trying to scooch over for the glare. Set it to switch D. Acknowledge it. Go to spoken flight modes. Highlight cancel, cancel. We're going to set this to say the word AS3X, or the acronym AS3X, which stands for Artificial Stabilization 3-Axis. Now remember, this doesn't actually set the mode. It's just a label so that you can see it. Then this is going to be the audio event that goes with it to correspond. You got to scroll way down, so we'll pause. All right, so here we go. So just past safe, we have AS3X. Okay, then we're going to set this one to off, even though we don't really use off. It's nice if you hand this controller over to somebody at the flight club that isn't used to having stabilizers involved and maybe has a little bit more skill or something like that, and they don't like it or it annoys them or whatever. Or you're thermaling on a sailing, you know, some sort of a thermal ship, and you want to be able to see thermals respond. Did I miss off?
I don't think so.
Okay.
You're getting close.
Yeah. Off. And then this one's going to be safe, sensor assisted flight envelope, where we have auto leveling for those of us that need a little bit of help when we're just learning to fly, or if we just want to space off for a second and take our eyes off of the airplane as we, you know, whack the kid for doing something stupid, or, you know, yell at the dog, or whatever it is, trip on the way, walking across a flight field like a moron instead of standing still like we should. All the different stupid things that you could possibly do. Okay, here it is. So we're going to find safe. There it is. All right, so basically we got 3 settings, AS3X, off, and safe, and this is going to be tied to flight mode 1, 2, and 3, okay? So that's all done. Channel assign, we're going to go in here. Gear is going to be set to gear. That's what we want. Flaps are going to be predefined on channel 6. Aux, I don't want aux 7 attached to B because we use B. We are going to use rotary knob for 8. Remember, this is a 20-channel setup, and we only lose full discrete channel control over 12. But even still, it doesn't matter. We're going to be fine with what we're doing on the first 6 pluggable channels. And then we're going to try to tie something into either the flaps or the gear to see if we can get the bond drop mechanism to work. And if we can't, then we'll just jump into an 8-channel, which at that point, we will be using channel 8 or 7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to defer this out of there, and I'll just go to channel 9 in this case. And I'm going to set that to rotary knob. And not that it's special, anything special about that. And then I'm going to set this to switch D, which will be flight modes on aux 10, or we can highlight that and scroll back to F mode. Doesn't matter because it's doing the same thing. D is calling out F mode. So you could put D there or you could put F mode there. It's going to do the same exact function. It's going to control aux 10. Aux 10, since it's not pluggable, doesn't give anything up on this end of the spectrum, pun intended, but it does use up a channel, okay? Makes sense? So we're walking back out. First things first, servo setup we can't do yet. Rates and expo, we'll set our basic rates and expo setup on switch F. All the settings are the same for most models that we start with. We do 5, then 10, then 20% expo. So we have a progressive expo. It's gonna make the stick softer. And then at the top, we drop the rates down to 90. So you barely lose any throw, but it's going to make a huge drastic change in the actual feel of the aircraft. That's why we start here. We have a doubling effect and a halving effect. And that's true for ailerons, elevator, exercise to switch, elevator, ailerons, and rudder. Okay, so we just have to scroll this in. Now you could build a template. If you watch a bunch of Brian Phillips RC videos and you're like, geez, Brian, it's always the same thing. Yeah, because we don't know who's watching what and when they're watching it. Whoops. We don't know when they're watching it. And so we have to assume you don't know anything. And so we don't want to start from templates because then templates are going to leave a lot of people in the dust. Okay. All right. So that's where we're going to start. So pitch, roll, and yaw. Throttle cut. Definitely want that. Highlight, exercise switch H. I wish it was on by default. I don't understand why it's not. But you can look down here, minus 100, and it is working because as I move the throttle stick, there's no change. When throttle cuts off, it is live. Throttle cuts on, okay? Very good. So we're gonna have other stuff we have to do, but I don't know what we're gonna do and when we're gonna do it. I don't wanna set up the flaps just quite yet because, well, they're technically not wired up, so we could just go to switch B. I don't know which direction it's gonna be, and I don't know what direction the correction is gonna be, so I'm just gonna set the speed to 2, and then we'll go from there, okay? Remember, position 0 in pulse width modulation on spectrum world is the center of the throw. So if you go to plus 100 or minus 100, or you go to plus 150 or minus 150, you could potentially drive the servo into the end stop, which is bad. You might damage it. All right, timer. This is a small plane. I think I'm gonna give myself 6 minutes with a 1 out over 25 on a 2200. It's probably going to be short of what we actually use. I bet we'll actually be more like 10, 11 minutes by the time we fly this. At 1 minute, I want a voice call out. At 10 seconds, I want a voice countdown. At expiration, I want tone and vibrate with a tone every minute thereafter. Okay. All right, so everything is set on the basic stuff. Throttle cuts on, throttle stick is down. Now we can go over to monitor mode. We can see there's going to be changes here. Of course, we don't actually have it doing anything yet. The gear is gonna go up and down like this. And so really we're gonna be playing with gear and flaps. So first things first, throttle cuts on, throttle stick is down. Let's get this thing plugged in. Now keep in mind, this is a spatially aware receiver. It needs to know its position, but we'll set all that crap in forward programming. So we're like a long ways away from actually needing to care about that. So all we're trying to do now is just get this thing energized so we can fiddle with it and figure out the bomb drop mechanism. So first things first, we know where things are going because we have a profile to work from. So this is throttle. So how do we know where signal is? It's silk screened here. It says S plus and minus. So S goes forward or away from my belly, and the brown or black will be down or toward my belly in this case, okay? So we can plug in what we know. So if you don't know, you just look at the screen. It says throttle, then aileron, then elevator. The basic controls will be very easy. We'll just plug those in and they should remain. But I do want to get these cables managed somewhat as we go, keeping in mind that we may be disconnecting all of this and plugging in an 8-channel receiver if we can't get it to work. So second channel is going to be elevator. So I'm just plugging this in.
Second, well, 2 will be elevator, or ailerons, 3 will be elevator.
Okay, so 3 is elevator, okay? And then it looks like rudder is on 4. So you see how the orange is going up. These are labeled nicely. There's gear. I'm not gonna mess with that yet. By the way, that wire is exceptionally short. I'm not sure why, but we may be able to pull some of that out. This is the other one. That's the bomb drop mechanism. This is the gear mechanism. Why don't we just Y those in right now just for grins? I'm gonna use this shorter extension or shorter Y cable. Brown is gonna go up on this. So then you can see brown and black go together. And then again, this might not work, but this is what we're gonna do together on Brian Phillips RC. We're gonna learn together, okay? So the bomb drop and gear are together. That's gonna go on channel 5. Then channel 6 is gonna be for flaps. This is aileron, so ailerons goes to channel 2. Again, if you went to an 8-channel receiver, I don't see a huge advantage on this plane because like you're not gonna split out the ailerons. Differential's not gonna make a big enough difference to justify that cost in my opinion. But if you wanted to, you could hypothetically do that. Now also looking at this, we have the Futaba color code and then we have the Hextronics. I know we mentioned it earlier when we were doing our filming earlier. For us, it's been a day. For you, it's just been a few minutes of video. Channel 6 for flaps, okay? So everything is technically plugged in. So now at this point, we need to be careful about the prop and we need to be careful about the bomb drop. It might drop, it's not gonna hurt anything. We need to be careful about the gear. Shouldn't hurt anything, but we just need to be careful about it. Throttle cuts on, throttle stick is down. We're gonna re-investigate that every time we get ourselves in a situation where we might get chop sueyed. Okay, because chop suey is not good. This is not gonna be the best for testing, so I'm gonna actually set that aside and I'm gonna use the Nanotech because I think it's gonna be easier to plop in and out, being that it's long, okay? That's a pretty easy fit. Again, this is spatially aware and I don't care yet because we're not setting that up yet. See where my arms are, guys? Look at this. If something goes wrong, I don't wanna get hurt. Didn't start yet. Pull my hand away, press the bind button. Okay, so it's in bind mode. Now, I'm gonna get myself in a safe spot, secure the plane, click, scroll down to bind. Go ahead and hit yes. Okay, remember that's setting the fail-safe for the throttle condition as well, so you gotta be careful. If you make a bunch of changes to your throttle after you do your initial binding, rebind it when you're all done, okay? That will reset your fail-safes. Okay, throttle cuts on, don't care about the movement, just understanding that some things moved. Rudder, elevator, okay. The flaps are down, but it doesn't matter because they're not hooked mechanically to anything. Throttle cut's the only thing I'm really worried about right now. Throttle cut is currently on, throttle is forward and it didn't move. Okay, throttle cut's off. It didn't arm. Throttle cut's on.
Oh, it didn't.
I don't know why. Let's find out. That's a dangerous condition until we can prove what went wrong. I have a sneaky suspicion that's gear, okay? I'm gonna just toggle gear and see what happens. Sweet. Oh, they're slow. Awesome. That is so cool. I had no idea they were gonna be slow. And here goes the gear. I love it. Very nice. Okay, so throttle cut's on. Let's go ahead and recycle power. Power's off. We're done binding. Throttle cut is off. Throttle cut is now, throttle cut is off. Throttle stick is all the way up. I'm gonna now hold the plane, assuming the worst. It's not gonna happen, but I'm gonna assume the worst, like it's gonna start. Plug this in. I heard the beep, beep, beep. Waiting for noise. Haven't heard it. Haven't heard it. Haven't heard it. All the way down. That's bizarre. Okay, so guys, let's look at my screen together. I'm at minus 98. Sometimes this happens. Throttle cut is off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Go back so they can see the whole thing. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46. I'm at 125% down. This is not working. Okay, trimming back up. Okay, so now I'm at minus 100. Throttle cut's on. Throttle stick is safe at this point. Okay, disconnecting. I'm listening again. I hear the beeps. There's no reason that it shouldn't be initiating, okay, that I can think of. I can't trust it yet, so let's do this. Servo setup, travel, reverse, elevator. Elevator up, elevator down, yaw left, yaw right, roll left, roll right. We can't really test that yet. So flap will be the next thing we play with. But we gotta figure out why the motor is not arming, okay? Throttle cuts off. There it goes. It just armed. Okay, so that's working. It's a lot of power, a lot of vibration. Throttle cut is on, and you'll notice it's still moving. That's because, look. Okay, so 105% down. I hate that. Throttle cut is off. We're gonna have to balance that too. That is really, really out of balance. Okay, so listen, unplug the power. Now that we know what's going on, throttle cuts off, throttle stick is all the way up. I am gonna have to that was at minus 20. So I'm at center now. Throttle cuts off, throttle stick is up. Listen, do-do-do. I wanna try to retrain the throttle range, but it's like it's up, there it goes, and then down. Okay, so now throttle cut, on, doesn't start. Good. Disconnect, we just talked about this. Let's rebind, but let's make sure throttle's working first. Throttle cut's on, throttle stick is down. This should arm now. Armed, throttle cuts off, I didn't start, good, and forward thrust. Very good, throttle cuts on, it worked, it stopped, throttle cuts down. Throttle cut is on, throttle stick is down. So now we're gonna rebind for safety, unplug power. Two things you can do, you can just turn this off. It's actually easier to do it this way, I'm just gonna turn it off. Once it's off, I could press the I switch, which will go into bind while powering. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this on. Then I'm gonna press this button, get it into bind mode, press and hold while powering. That forces bind mode. Holding. Bind complete. Auto config for telemetry, and it armed, okay? Throttle cuts on. We're waiting for auto config to end. Do you guys understand what I just did there? I rebound knowing that we changed the throttle range on the ESC. Now, even though we called out the same pulse width modulation points of like 0 to 100, or excuse me, negative 100 technically to plus 100, I wanted to make sure there's no ambiguity because that's how you get your hands cut, okay? We will balance that. I'll show you how to do it. It's not that big a deal, but it's annoying. Okay, so now that that's done, throttle cuts off. We have power, throttle cuts on, everything is working. Now, we can start investigating or we can look and see how things work. Let's see how things work first. We know for sure we have to do a few things. We have to wire up everything. We have to physically, mechanically hook things together, okay? There are, obviously all the channels are doing the things that they need to do now, okay, right? So the only thing I'm gonna do is just carefully and temporarily stuff this in here so that I can do this in such a way that I don't have to worry about damaging anything, and then I can put the lid on so we can flip the plane upside down because we gotta wire everything in. Or not so much wire, but mechanically put the control surfaces together. Okay. All right, so let's talk about how things are set up here. We have ailerons. And by the way, I was complaining a lot about the ailerons, and for good reason, because it's annoying to have to do this. But you might not care. I do. It's a pain in my butt, and I've done tons of these planes. So let's go ahead and put this together so we can see what direction they're going. This is not meant to be ambiguous, but it is somewhat ambiguous because when you move the stick, you can see the ailerons move. But my guess is the average Joe's not going to be able to connect those dots unless you've set up a million planes, okay? And if you've set up a million planes, more power to you. Holding this and spinning, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just want to make sure I got purchase on there and then have that ready. Now, this is already drilled out. It looks like on the second hole down. So I'm assuming that's where we need to be. Is that what you recall seeing?
I don't have any indication.
Okay. So look, I'm going to turn this, turn this, turn this, turn this. I want this square, and you can see we got to go way in. Turn this, turn this, turn this, turn this, turn this. Do you see what I'm doing? You see where I'm bringing this? So it's going to come into alignment with that. Turn this, turn this, turn this, turn this, turn this. Ooh, we're getting really close now. Okay, maybe one more turn. There's one more turn. Now, one thing to keep in mind, these will sometimes, the absolute position will change a little bit if you reverse the direction of travel. So don't get too bent out of shape yet about exact placement. I'm putting the bolt through the ball thingy, and then I'm gonna just thread this in using my fingers so that it's quick and easy. And then I'm gonna use the 1.5 millimeter drive. Now we can check the direction of travel on the ailerons, okay? So you can hold this is rule of thumb, you can hold this and you can see what's gonna go on. Now, if you get confused, my suggestion is if you're brand new in the hobby, don't try to do it upside down, backward, standing on your head, because it's just gonna confuse you. You're gonna make a mistake and then you'll crash your plane, okay? These are tied together mechanically, or not mechanically, electrically. Roll left, so that would push that wing up. And then roll right, that would push that wing down. So it is correct. Roll, roll. So imagine you're sitting in this chair and you move this. It's gonna move the plane. It's gonna move the plane. Use that as a visual reference, okay? So we're going the correct direction. Remember, we have vetted the throttle. I don't know why I still feel like we can't trust it, but we can trust it. And you can also trust the positioning here, because now that we know it's going the right direction, we can tell this needs to go in another half a turn, because look, as I touch this, it's low right there. It's low. Okay, so I'm gonna pull this out by unscrewing this. Once it's unscrewed, then I'm gonna be able to spin this in one turn, okay? One half a turn. Okay, so we'll go half a turn. Booyah, like that. And then we're gonna stick this back through the ball link. And then we're gonna stuff this in. Now you can just force this in if you want, or you can try to thread it in. I probably prefer the latter, but I'm gonna force it in. And then you can see that we're still not quite aligned. So I think I'm gonna go again. Of course, it's not gonna pull out for me. So I need to do this in half a turn again. And this is the sort of stuff that irks me because it could be done at the factory and it's not. Okay, I am to the point where that threaded rod is hitting the bottom of this. It's gonna break it if I go any further, okay? So fortunately, we're where we need to be, I think. If you get to a point where you need to make it go in further, you have to take that head off, you have to take that end off and actually cut it with like a pair of strippers or something. You have to take this whole shaft out and cut the tip. So make sure you're right before you cut it, because you're not gonna add length back, okay? So then I'm gonna take and use this nut, make sure the nylock is away from the bolts, hold it, then come in here and go ahead and get this in, okay? So now you can see we've got a nice finish. Now this can be tight. This can be tight because then the ball link will actually slide on the plastic. And you see this? That's a nice fitment there and a nice fitment there, okay? Very good. Okay, we'll do the exact same process on the other side. Now keep in mind, the exact same process may not yield the exact same results, but let's just assume we have to go all the way in to start with. So we'll just go until we kind of bottom out, if you will. Yeah, that's pretty much bottomed out. I'm gonna go quarter turn back. And then I'm gonna just go into the second hole because that seems to be where they had it. Let's look at the drawing. Does it show?
I think it only shows the throws.
Yeah, it does. I don't really, I'm just gonna put it in that because that's what I did, okay? Hopefully it's not problematic, folks. Okay, so you see this? That's a pretty dang good placement. Okay, so same thing. Get this bolt. Make sure you're on the correct side of the control horn so that you don't have like a weird angle. Like if you were to put this on the other side, it would potentially bind itself as it moves through the stroke, okay? So like if this was over here, it would bind when it got to certain points, okay? It would try to twist this plastic or this, or both. And then that would be bad because it would probably bend the plastic. It would probably break it eventually. Okay, same thing here. You guys see how I'm loading that nut between my fingertips? I'm grabbing it with my forceps. You can use needle nose pliers. You can just use your bare fingers. If you can hold on to nuts that small with your bare fingers, more power to you. Okay, very good. So let's see if it moves. Yes, it does. Very nice. Now flaps. Let's talk about flaps. We have not set the flaps to do anything yet. Okay, so let's look at flaps. Whoops. Flap system. So we got to go plus and minus. So let's just go minus and then a little bit plus and we'll see which way they go. Okay, so did we go the right way? This would be toward my belly. This is landing flaps, okay? So that would be all the way down. So it looks like the positive value on the position 2 is correct. So I'm just gonna go to 100 and then we can back it off. And you can see we're not run into anything and we're not run into anything, so we're good. Okay, so then we can go back to negative 100 and make sure we're not gonna hit, and it looks like we're gonna be totally golden. Okay, so there's takeoff flaps, there's landing flaps, and of course I don't know the exact percentages, and since we have the correct movement, I know that I want the elevator to go down because they're split flaps and they're inboard. It's gonna act like a normal inboard downward facing flap. So I'm gonna go 6 and then I'm gonna go way up, and I just wanna see that elevator point down. It did point down because of course the plane's upside down. So 33 is more than we want. We want it to be like 6 and probably 9, okay? 2 seconds for the speed, and then this will probably end up ultimately being like minus 30, okay? Because you're not gonna do tons of deployment for takeoff flaps, but you will do for landing flaps. You want the barn door action for the landing flaps. So now, I wanna park my flaps and I wanna extend my flaps. So it's possible that we're gonna wanna overshoot beyond 100%. So this might be the area where in your servo setup, you go to travel, and like, let's say we want my ailerons to move further. Well, we can turn this up to like 125. I don't see any binding. We do get close to the end of stroke over there, so I think that's about right. Elevator, I think we have enough throw, but I'm gonna just see what happens when I go to 125. I'm gonna actually leave that at 100. Rudder, Let's go to like 125 as well. Spectrum tends to be a little bit short on stroke on the total output. So if you get an FMS plane or you get a free wing plane or something like that, you might want to kick out more than 100 plus and 100 minus. But a lot of bind-in flies, the plus 100, minus 100, it's calling out different values at the top of stroke and bottom of stroke anyway. Okay, so there's your rudder, elevator, and ailerons. Okay, the primary flight control surfaces are installed. Now we need to move on to the next thing, which is going to be the flaps. Okay, we got to actually hook these in mechanically so that we can actually make the servos move the control surfaces. And you're probably thinking to yourself, but Brian, I thought we were going to just figure out how to get the bomb drop to work. Yes, that's right. I thought so too. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so I want the flaps to be totally like normal flight mode. This is going to set the stage for everything else. Now, because of that, I want to go to flaps and see on this mode or the center. Let's open up. Dang it. I have to go to flap system. You see this, guys? I have that negative 30. Let's clear that to 0. Then I'm going to go back into servo setup and I'm going to scroll over to this travel, hit the middle setting. I'm going to open it all the way up and then I'm going to go back like 5. Okay, so we're free, we're not hitting, and we're free, we're not hitting. Why do I care? Because that will press this down. This will pull it out. That might be too much deflection. It might be too little, but at least I know I can make that home position by changing my 100 to like 60 and my 100 plus to like 60 or whatever. But then I know I've got what I've got. I've got what I've got. Instead of like not having what I got and then not actually achieving the reach that I need. It's going to get more complicated if we do it the other way, okay? So we're going to start here. Okay, I'm turning this on 2 or 3 turns. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to mimic that on both of these by holding at the base here where that Z-bend is, and I'm going to mimic that, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then all I'm doing is I'm going to hold this actually on the table or the counter, and I'm just going to see if I'm close. I'm really close, because that'll make it a little easier. I'm going to turn this one half a turn more, and then let's just make sure you're holding at the same spot. In fact, I could hold it with my forceps, maybe. Yeah, I'm going to hold it with my forceps so they're lined up. Yeah, except then the little indisparity in thicknesses is going to rear its ugly head. See, they're the same now. The reason that I want them the same is because I want the mechanical action the same. These servos are in opposite orientations, which means you should get the same outcome. Okay, I can go to the middle setting, and it looks like this one also has the holes kind of worked out for us, okay? So that's gonna go to the outside. And then same thing here, this one went from the outside to the inside. Okay, so we're gonna slide that in, and then we're gonna flip it around. And you might want to take a second and actuate these a few times if you feel any sort of resistance like I do there. Just get them worked in a little bit, okay? Now look how close that is to the home position. That's at middle, okay? So if I go all the way home, that's going to be like way past, okay? So that tells me that we don't need any more. So I can set that back. I can set that to 0. Now, you can also change the spline position if you need it, but now when I go to retract and pull the flaps, that's the max deflection I'm gonna get, okay? So really what I wanna do is I actually wanna buy back some of that. I'm gonna go back to like 125, okay? And then what I need to do is I need to turn these in. So I'm gonna use my forceps so I don't have to take them off. I'm gonna clip, I'm gonna go 1 half, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4, 5 halves, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 halves, okay? I'm gonna go to 10 halves here as well. 1 half, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves, 5, 6, 7 halves, 8, 9, and 10 halves, okay? Why do you count by halves? Because I turn trim pots for a living, and when you turn trim pots, you have to remember somehow how much you've turned them, okay? See, we're still way out. Okay, so 125 is gonna be too much. So I'm gonna back that off to like 115. We'll see if we can get that. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can go more. There's 1/2, 2/2, 3/2, and we're pretty much bottomed out. 1/2, 2/2, 3/2, and pretty much bottomed out. Okay, so that means if I tried to deploy that there, I would overdrive the servo. So I'm gonna go down even more. There's 105. Goodness gracious. Okay, and then I'm gonna go down to even more, to 100. Wowzers, that's crazy. So I'm not even gonna get the full stroke, okay. All right, so I fed this bolt through, and this one is going to go, I'm gonna have to use this to drive it almost certainly. I'm gonna go to the outside, I think. I'm just going to the outside. It's gonna be easier to work with.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because then I can reach the screwdriver. Otherwise, it's gonna be incredibly difficult to run the screwdriver. Okay, so I've got the screwdriver fed in there. You guys see what I'm talking about. See this? That's gonna overdrive the servo to a degree. Now, is it enough that it's gonna cause the servo to fail? I don't think so. I think we're gonna be okay, okay? That's a pretty good deflection. I'm happy with the way that looks. So now, I'm gonna put the nut on. Now this one, I could see the factory leaving off, which is ironic, but just not the ailerons. Okay. All right, so that's done-ish. Excuse me, need to turn. So I'm gonna do the same thing over here. This one's gonna be the same exact, hopefully the same exact position, because we've counted and we measured and we have the same opposite orientation, okay? So now this is gonna also push out a little bit beyond home, meaning it's gonna push it into the foam. Take off flaps, now landing flaps. I hate that that catches over here. I don't think we're ever gonna get away from that either. That's too bad. Okay, turning it, turning it, turning it, turning it, turning it. Beautiful. Get in there, get it done. Yeah, buddy. Okay. All right, here we go. Take off flaps, now landing flaps. Now, let's look at the gear. Let's watch them actuate from here. They're slow and beautiful, I love it. Guys, I gotta say, this plane, for being a small plane, it's got some big plane features, and I love that. The annoying part is, I don't think the average Joe is gonna wanna spend 8360T money on a receiver. Squishy tires, not squishy, not that squishy. They're a little bit squishy. So here's the next problem. We gotta figure out what's going on with the bomb drop, okay? Because we are genuinely close to being done with this model, okay? So all the surfaces are working, takeoff flaps, landing flaps, elevator correction, but the bomb drop, I'm gonna pull on this, it is allowed to fall out right now. But once the gear are actuated, it's not that it's allowed to drop out, you need that to actually force this out. It will push it out, okay? So let's do the play trick that I was gonna do at the beginning. So we are playing with gear. In this mode, I don't want that to deploy, but I bet it will. So gear down, this is the mode I'm hoping this will deploy. So I'm spinning this. Ah, you see it jump? Mm-hmm. So at some point during the sweep, see that? Pulled it in. I can feel it. So when the gear are down, it is holding it. When the gear are up, it's gonna let go. Okay? But look, with the gear down, I can also overdrive the servo, but I just don't want to get to a point where the sequencer doesn't understand what to do. Okay? So look, that's falling out now. And now it's falling out now. It's pulling in now. So with the gear up, that thing is held in. With the gear down, see, our range is too big now, okay?
Okay.
So 150 is too much. So yeah, so about 135, let's say. So we have 135 on the gear down side of things. And that is letting go with the gear up, okay? So it's not holding it, okay? So it's resisting actively. With the gear down, it's holding. So like hypothetically, you could take off, you could fly around, you could make that happen. But here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna create a mix. By the way, throttle cuts on, this prop is right in my face, okay? So we wanna emulate this behavior. We really only care, I wanna just see that's held on really good. So that when that's down, it's free. So you see how it's 150? I'm gonna clear that to 0. And look, it's held, okay? So when that's opened, that's held. In the middle, it's held. But what we need to do is we need to make gear do something. The input is gonna be I. Where are you, I? And I want that to function with gear. Why is it in such goofy order?
It's skipping gear.
Yeah, why is it?
Should be.
Why would that? It's channel 5.
Yeah, should be rudder, gear, then flap.
Yeah, why is it skipping it? Okay, so let's try something different then, I guess. Let's clear that. Let's see if we can make gear. What the heck? Reset it. Okay, mix 1. Aux 5. Aux 5? What is Aux 5?
Gear.
Yeah. Oh,
That
okay,
wasn't
okay,
showing up
okay.
before though. So
Okay, so go back to mixing. Sorry, folks. So we're gonna go aux 5 to aux 5 just so we can get it there. What the heck? Okay, we're gonna inhibit that. Okay. I guess I'll see if I can go like this. There's aux 5. Okay, we're gonna see if we can get it to even call out aux 5 or gear. Why would it not let us do that?
skips it.
It's like it's in some strange. What the heck? It's so annoying. What is the deal? Okay, well, in that case, that was what I was hoping to do, was make this actuate the gear for an extra offset. Okay, I'm gonna try just mix 2, just see if we can get access to it. There's aux 5. Okay, well, this is pretty annoying. So let's just go to a high aux. Or we'll try I and see if it shows up again. See? Yeah, it's not there. Why would they block that out? Okay, well, in that case, I'm gonna go back to system setup, disconnect RF, channel assign. See how it says gear on A? Watch this. Let's change that to aux 5. And just like, I don't care what they call it. And then let's just attach it to switch A. Done. Now, let's go back to mixing. Like, I don't really understand why they have to make that hard. I'm gonna reset this second one because we're not using it. I'm gonna go back in here. I don't care if it's I. There.
There you go.
What the heck is that crap? Okay, so let's make the rate offset of like 100%, okay? So when I actuate that, it should make an offset, but I don't have anything tied to it. So gear obviously work. So aux5 is working, but then I actually have to wake this up with either plus or minus. See how it's going down? Okay, so I'm doing 100 on the minus side with 100% offset. But watch this, no matter what condition the gear's in, it's gonna call out a gear retract or lift, but it's gonna drop this. See, it's got pressure. I just don't know what position I exactly need it in.
Right.
Okay, so let's set off the offset to nothing. See, that's holding it harder, okay? Ooh, and this mix should only be true if the switch A is, you know what? We're just gonna make it true all the time. Does that make sense?
Because it's going to happen when you push the button no matter what.
I
right?
want it to always drop no matter what, but we may need to have two different mixes that get us to the correct pulse width modulation so that this releases.
Okay.
Okay? And the problem is, like, we're gonna lose the fiery ball of death out there because we're trying to get the fiery ball of death. You ready? Catch my bomb. Not enough?
Not enough.
So gear down. You can see it wiggle. Okay. So now we can play with the exact position and hopefully we can get both functions out of the same channel. And that's what I was trying to do, guys. So this 100, you see that 100? We can go higher than that too. I'm holding the button to see if it drops at a specific time. Because I'm basically sweeping it. It's eventually gonna close the gear, just so you know. Well, that's kind of weird. It didn't even drop it.
You have to go all the way and then do the offset so it goes even more?
Yeah, I think so. Whoops. I don't know which way though.
Right.
I think it's going the wrong way.
It wiggles, but it's not.
I think it's like we're going the wrong direction, possibly. Hasn't dropped yet.
If you change the first rate that you have as 0.
Well, we could go negative or positive. You got to remember, I is only going to go one direction.
Right, okay.
That's why that first one I don't believe has any impact. Oh, yeah, it does. Oh, it's the offset working. See, now we're making the gear function. Okay, so well, except that was, let's clear that. Let's try this. And all it's doing is it's spinning a magnet. Okay, now let's go negative. I have a feeling it would just about pop out. But I think we might have killed our ability to actually function the gear now because we're so far off. Okay, so let's change the offset back. And all I'm doing is just guessing and checking to figure out which one's gonna let go of it. It's not even moving with the offset because you have to have something called out. That holds pretty tight there. So I think what I need to do is I need to play with the sweep, and the sweep might be easier to tie just to the rotary knob. So I'm gonna try that real quick just because it'll be easier to like, oh, that's the roller. Where is the rotary knob? There it is. Okay, so now we can just sweep it. And then if you look right here, you can see on the monitor what's happening. And I'll switch it whenever we figure out what the sweet spot is. It seems to be like at about 150. You know what? The rotary knob, I just wonder if there's not enough range to get us to where it's gonna release properly. Ooh, we can actuate the gear too, because we're mixing the gear. I mean, I can hear it spinning in there. Okay, we're gonna play with this and we'll just try to give you the answer when we figure it out. All right, so this is what I'm gonna do. We just gotta try something, okay? I've got I attached to aux 5. I've got it so that it's only on when you press it with a minus 125 and 100. And so my rationalization is it doesn't actuate the gear, but it releases. I'm pretty sure it's gonna release, okay? But you gotta have some air pressure. Otherwise, it's just not gonna pop out, okay? It's got a loose hold, but then with the gear down, it holds pretty good then. So that's gonna give us, the conditions are gonna look like this. Gear down, gear up, and then drop it, okay? So that's my theory. I think it's gonna work. So gear down, oh shoot. I just realized the gear up and down sequence are backward from what I'm used to. So, okay, I wanna see if this works. I wanna see how much this screws up everything. Travel, reverse, aux 5. Okay. So gear up, gear down, it holds. Release, I think release is gonna release, but you can do it in such a fashion that it's momentary, regardless of if the gear are up or down. It's just gonna quickly, it might actuate the gear, but if you go to monitor, you can see what's happening. It's pulling it way down to this extremity, okay? So your normal operation, that's where it's gonna drop, is at minus 150 in Spectrum World, okay? So now we got to do forward programming because this plane is like ready to fly, and we might still be able to fly it today, or at least that's my goal. All right, so let's talk about what's left. We have to double confirm all the surfaces. First of all, that's a beautiful plane. Elevator up, elevator down. Roll left, roll right. Yaw left, yaw right. That is unacceptable. Look at that. That thing is sticking down. We got to fix that right now. You know how to fix that?
You have to unscrew the bolt, right?
Yeah. You have to undo the bolt and then screw this out. Otherwise, it's going to force the nose into the ground. I have a stinky suspicion that we're not going to get this done. That's very annoying.
That would be typical.
Well, thanks, Windows. Okay, so out you go. Now that that's done, we can take and run this out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure you've got purchase still. Okay, so let's force that in. And that gets us way more close to square. That's probably close enough to work, okay? So now I'm just gonna grab the nuts again with my forceps. They got magnetized somewhere on something, which is annoying. Probably handling these nuts. Okay, so I'm just gonna torque this in. And then that's gonna give us our elevator. Pre-trim, right? If you will.
Okay.
All right, so then let's look at control surfaces, elevator up, elevator down, roll left, roll right, yaw left, yaw right, takeoff flaps, landing flaps. Obviously the gear we've tested ad nauseum. and then bomb drop. Let's hope it's enough, okay? So we have all the primary surfaces done. Throttle cuts off. That is incredibly vibraty.
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna have to do something about that. We also have to get the receiver mounted. Okay, so throttle cuts on. Let's mount the receiver. This can be mounted a million different ways. And what I'm gonna do is I'm probably just gonna mount it back here. And like we discussed, it's just gonna get glued in here, okay? Just back here where it's out of the way, because that should be fine. And the China glue will do the trick for that. Okay, so this is why I love China glue, because it's easy. I did not mean to put glue on that antenna, but I did, okay? I'm just gonna slide this back here and just let that glue slather into the spot where I just stuck that. You wanna go to my other side, please? See where it is? So I'm gonna pull this out. I'm gonna put a little bit more glue on. Okay, and then I'm gonna just use this to hold that back. And you're probably thinking, geez, that's a lot of glue, Brian. Yeah, it kind of is, but that's because I want it to get into that whole little area. And then I'm gonna literally put away the China glue and just let it sit for a minute. Because then that can set up. Wow, it's already like sticking like crazy. That's good. Okay, so I'm gonna pull this. What are you doing? Just stay there. So I'm gonna let that sit, okay? Now the other thing we would normally do is a shelf liner trick in here. We're gonna do a little bit of shelf liner. Shelf liner is super easy to apply. Camera crew. Shelf liner is easy to apply. This stuff takes a battery that would normally slip and slide, and it just gives a little something to hang on to. So I'm gonna actually take, and it's a small amount, I'm gonna cut, and you're probably thinking that's not very big. Well, you don't need a big piece in this. And I am gonna use China glue. You could use the piece of Velcro that came with it right here, but I'm just gonna use a little slather of China glue because it'll work just about as good. And to be honest, once you have a little bit of pressure on there, it won't be necessary anyway, because that will do the thing it was gonna do anyway, okay? Just a little bit of glue. Doesn't even need to be super fresh in terms of its slatherage, but I'm just gonna slide this back into that position because that's good enough to hang on to a portion of the battery, okay? So you'll notice that this is not stuck to the side. We did that on purpose so it could cook off, chemically react in the air. I'm gonna press this in and just hold that where we want it, and that's gonna be the way it is, okay? It won't move. It will surprisingly hold just fine. We can still get that out if we need to screw with stuff, but I am gonna slide this back, and I'm just gonna put that antenna almost all the way back, and then I'm gonna slip this into the sticky glue on the side of the fuse. And you see that's just gonna hold the antenna in position. So it'll be out of the way of the battery, okay? So now I'm gonna take this strap and I'm going to very carefully loosen the strap. It's a huge strap, probably a little bit too big. And we're gonna slide this in and we're gonna just see how the CG works out as well, okay? So now that we have that positioned, which we're gonna have to do for forward programming, we can go ahead and hold this down and that's gonna hold it in position, okay? So we can put away the shelf liner. By the way, the shelf liner and all the different supplies you see us use on this channel can be purchased from links that are at brianphillipsrc.com/supplies, or brianphillipsrc.com can be bprc.me. And that is another way to find these things. We have a big link at the top. It's very easy to find. Okay, so let's check the center of gravity. Where is the center of gravity?
55 to 60 millimeters from the leading edge.
Okay, so 55 to 60 millimeters from the leading edge.
Yes.
55 to 60 millimeters from the leading edge. Okay, so 55, Got to put it on the plane stand for this one, guys. From the leading edge, where? This wing is not square. It's at the wing root. Okay. Where at the wing root? At the middle of the sweep? Are you kidding me? That makes that easy. Not. So 55 to 60, this is going to be one of those where it's like, let's hope that we get it right and it sticks. Okay, 55 to 60. So I could measure 5 from the first mark, but I'm just going to try to double up. Yeah, I mean, that's about right. You can tell about where it's supposed to be because there's a wing spar there. Okay, so there's your 60 mark. That's going to be incredibly difficult to get your fingers into. Full disclosure, you should typically check CG from the landing gear down. Why? Because you got to get the plane to the ground. Hypothetically, you're not going to land without the landing gear down. You guys see, it's a tight spot. Ooh. I feel like that needs to go. It's a little bit tail heavy. So I just realized we don't have the decorative stuff on here either, which is going to get good on. It's going to get glued on right now. You know why?
CG.
It's got to get glued on for the CG. So I'm just going to slather a little bit of CA, or not CA, but in this case, China glue again. And I'm going to spread this. And then I'm going to take and put that pitot tube on the wingtip. And then I'm going to pull it off. And I'm just going to work and slather a little bit of the glue on top and bottom. And then I'm going to lay this to the side. Okay. And then the larger antenna, which that should be going in here. I'm just going to slather again. Okay, and then I'm going to pull it and put it aside. And then there's a small one. I have no clue where that goes or comes from. But then the gun sights, which are really cool, they are going to go into this. Okay. And then I'm going to take them and set them aside. I'll go back to my original pitot tube, stick it on the wing. I'll come back to this and then stick that into the fuse and leave it. And then I'll come back to this. Oh, no. They show an antenna up on this. They don't show the gun sights there, which actually makes better sense because look at the shape of that hole.
And
where's the sights go? Are the sights supposed to go inside? Because look, that is not the sights. That's this thing that we couldn't figure out. And look at the hole that they created. Dang it. That is super irritating. I am not 100% certain. Okay, we're gonna put the sights in. Where would the sights go if the sights weren't there? You know what? I think that's the way that's supposed to be. Because they have a pocket that's designed for that size.
I have to find a real picture of a...
It's offset to the side too, which would make room for the guns. Okay.
Okay.
That's the way it's going, guys. If it's wrong, I'm sorry. I'm doing the best I can with limited information here. All right, so that means that we're ready to forward program this. The center of gravity is imperfect right now, but that's because I need to push this battery up and it ain't going up. So that means that smaller battery is going to be a better center of gravity match. So now forward programming is not hard and it doesn't take hardly any time, thankfully. So we're gonna cancel out of this by scrolling over. We're gonna scroll down to forward programming. Gyro settings, first time setup. Next, next, next. Set it level, press continue. Okay, set the model on its nose. This is just orientating the receiver, okay? Yep, that looks right to me. Gain channel apply. The gain channel is rotary knob. Highlight, see if it picks it up. It did, awesome. Oh, you don't have to keep holding this up either, by the way. But what I'll do is I'll just let that down onto the mains. Oh yeah, soft tires and suspension, sweet. So it's rebooting. This is where it would start running if it was gonna run. Return to forward programming. One set of dances, that's AS3X only, okay? Gyro settings, first time safe setup, FM channel. We have to set this to channel 10. Okay.
Safe mode off. AS3X.
This is where we want safe. If that number doesn't change when you move your stick, you don't have it right yet. So this is where it's gonna be level for flying, okay? So this is the part where I usually take a couple pillows or something that I can put under here, books. No. That's pretty dang close. Okay, so level, model, and capture attitude. Okay, good. We got -1 and -10. Next. Next. Okay, I want these all the way up, so I have maximum throws. That's gonna basically, not maximum throws, but maximum pitch and bank limitations. Excuse me, minimum limitations. In this mode, I want self-level and angle demand. In this, I want nothing. In this, I want nothing. See how it says inhibit? Apply. Watch for 2 dances. That means safe is active, or at least on, okay? Return to forward programming. Gyro settings. F mode setup.
Safe mode off.
Okay, so AS3X is active here. AS3X is inactive here. AS3X is active with self-level. And then let's go to system setup. Utilities. Gyro response test. Okay, this is the easiest way to test the gyro. It's been working well. It's gonna tell you by pointing the way that you're moving, it's gonna resist the movement. Yes, 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 and yes, yes, yes. Okay, everything's working. So you can exit from the menu now, and then you can go to AS3X settings, and you can do another test. Make sure your gains are fixed or adjustable. Very good. Off and good. Okay. So then gain 4x, turn the knob up, throttle cut is on. It won't let you into forward programming without the throttle cut. This is real gyro response. Real gyro response. All the way up, off. Okay, safe, should be working, off. Okay, so check for up, yes, yes. Check for up, yes and yes. Check for up, yes and yes. And then check for left and right, yes and yes. Obviously the steerable is attached, so we're just gonna assume they're the same. Okay, so now I can take 4x and I can turn it back to 1x, and we're gonna turn our knob, well actually we'll go back to 4x. Knobs all the way up, 50% down, all the way off, 25%. 50%, 75%, 100%. Okay, so it's obviously working. I'm gonna go back to 1X. That's where I wanna start my flight. That means that technically we're at 50% with the rotary knob at half. This plane is ready to fly. Elevator up, elevator down, roll left, roll right, yaw left, yaw right, takeoff flaps, landing flaps, okay? Bomb drop is gonna be the only thing I can't test until we have some air pressure on it, okay? This plane is ready to fly. We've set up forward programming. We've done all the things we need to do, with the exception of flying it. This pitot tube is kind of leaning forward. I'm gonna stick that back on. If the China glue does that, that's the other thing you gotta watch for is when you China glue in a receiver, like what we've done, you'll wanna just double, triple check right before you get ready to do anything that everything is still intact and where it needs to be mounted. Now, one last thing we have to do, very critical to make this plane fly worth a crap, and that is to balance the prop. It is way off, and we are probably not gonna get it, are we?
Probably not.
Because our lighting is too crappy. Okay, so how do we check the balance of a prop? There's a bunch of different ways to do it, but I'm gonna show you the really redneck way to do it that works great, okay? Throttle cut is off. Vibrate, okay? Throttle cut's on. We are going to just quite literally put tape on this to identify which one needs weight. This is an easy way to do it. That is assuming that it's a balance issue and it's not an oscillation like a movement. So look from this side. And usually you have to have a dark backdrop so you can see the tip. It's not wobbling that much, but there is a slight wobble on the spinner. That's not uncommon, by the way. So one of these is gonna get some weight. There's 3 of them. Okay, I'm gonna take a little bit of Scotch tape. I'm gonna stick it right there and I'm gonna fold it, okay? Then I'm gonna go like this and I'm gonna go. I can't say that was better. So then I'm gonna move the same piece of tape to the next blade. And we're gonna repeat this process, okay? It's very simple. Better or worse? Better or worse?
Maybe better, but the tape's kind of fluttering.
Okay, going out a little bit outboard more. Okay, I can't tell. So go back to the next one. Just keep doing the same orientation until you figure out what you feel is correct. That actually helped. Okay. So if that helps, then that means this one's probably the light one, or I've got something in my head that's not quite screwed on straight. I'm gonna go to a little bit heavier vinyl style tape this time. So like an electrical tape. I'm gonna take off a pretty good amount, probably a 3/4 to an inch, a little bit more than an inch actually. And I'm gonna apply that just below this yellow mark, okay? This vinyl tape, we don't have thrust reverse to compete with. That's a lot of weight, guys, a lot. It might take care of it. Check that out, guys. That was pretty awesome. I'd rather be lucky than good. That is an incredible difference. I mean, I never thought it was gonna get that good. That was quick. I told you redneck, and it worked. So this plane is ready to fly, and as usual, 5 minutes late for the sunset. It's super frustrating for us because we work so hard to hit these tight windows. I kind of want to go out and just fly it and see how it does. But I'm just afraid it's going to crash in a million pieces.
It's just getting really dark.
It is getting dark.
And there's no LEDs.
Yeah, there's no LEDs. And by the way, this olive drab finish is not going to do well in dark.
No, not in this season.
What color is it on the bottom?
Gray.
Yeah, this
If
thing
it
would
was
disappear.
snowing, it would maybe be okay.
Okay, so what have we done? We balanced the prop. We installed all the control surfaces. We made sure they're going in the right direction. We set up the bomb drop. Hopefully it'll work. We don't know for sure yet that it will work, but we have a good idea that we're gonna get it into the extremity of the range of the servo. I'll be honest with you, if it doesn't drop that thing, guess what? I don't know if it will. because I'm at 150% of throws.
Yeah, you can't go any further.
You
right?
can't go any further in either direction. But it might be that I need to be in the middle or something. And if that were true, then that would explain, you know, why it wasn't releasing, okay? Because all it is a shaft with a magnet and it just spins. On the output shaft of the servo, and so as a result, when it spins, it puts the magnets in opposition and then it poops out the bomb, okay? So because it poops out the bomb, then it falls on top of whatever you're flying over. So it's really fun. And yes, that did happen to me once when I was flying over a building that I probably shouldn't have been flying over. And everybody was like, uh-oh. It was fun. I really want to tell this story in a different way, but I can't because I don't want to be incriminating. It was very fun, and it was an early on plane that I had. And I'm trying to remember which plane it was. I think it was a Durafly, and I dropped, but then there was another one that had doubles. It was 2 P-51 tanks, I think, that dropped.
Yeah, I can't remember which one it was. I remember it happening.
Yeah, it was super fun, and it actually worked, but you had to kind of work at it. Like you had to lunge to make them break free, and so it was kind of wonky at best, but it did technically work. So what have we learned? We've learned that Brian never seems to manage enough time for anything. We already knew that.
We already knew that.
You guys are on Brian Phillips RC. The 8360T would be nice. It would make things easier, but it's not necessary to fail. You can fail without it, okay? The truth is, I think this plane is going to fly and drop the bombs fine, but there's only time will tell. And then we can make a decision as to whether or not you want to blow like another $70 or whatever it is. I mean, it's considerably more.
Yeah.
For that setup.
Yeah.
So if we could save you $1 or $2 once in a while, I mean, we obviously brought you into this addiction, we hope. And so the least we could do is help you to facilitate paying for the addiction once in a while. That is a pretty sweet looking plane. For 1100 millimeters, it's very unusual to have such a nice looking plane. The other thing too is having active ordnance leads to a new challenge. And that is, I don't normally fly with ordnance because I don't care. I don't care enough about the ordnance, and it almost always makes the planes fly worse, which they would in real life because it's like a bunch of weight, you know, almost equivalent to the weight of the plane going on there. You know, if you strap 500-600 pounds to a light plane, it's going to make a big difference in the way it flies. I just wish I could make it fall off for the example. You suppose? I don't know. I don't know if it's going to fall off. I hope it does. I think that the spring-loaded wheels are going to actually do something, but I don't want to make a bunch of assessments. We're going to see it when you do too. All right, guys, that's all we got for you today on Brian Phillips RC. We've got the Unbox Build radio setup done on this P-40 from Durafly, and I can't wait to see it in the air. It's going to be gorgeous. Watching this thing fly by. We haven't had a lot of P-40s over the years. We've only done a handful of them. A 1.4 from FMS, and then I think we did a 1.1 also from FMS years ago. But I was not impressed with that 1.1, if I remember right. The 1.4 was okay, but then we blew up the prop because we had to do grass hops with it because it would roll out forever. So I'm hoping this one doesn't do that, but if it does, with those spring-loaded oleos and very tall tires, I think we're gonna have good ground clearance if we have to do grass hops. So, but a 1.1 meter on grass hops, I don't know, that's really pushing it. It looks the part, let's hope it does the part. Hopefully we answered all your questions too, and when I say all your questions, there's going to be more. Like for instance, are the gear gonna go up when you do this? No, we evidently missed the sweet spot where it actuates. So when I lift this up, gear, bomb drop, the whole time it's going, I'm pressing the I switch and it's not doing anything, okay? So then the gear come back down. Keep in mind, they're slow, which is so cool, but it's also, you know, a little bit obnoxious in that they're actually kind of slow. So you'll have to be on top of your game when you pull your when you pull your gear up, if you have your bomb on there and it doesn't break free, and you try to belly land this, you're gonna break off the ordnance, and you're probably gonna break this fin too.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I gotta say, this thing is hot. Like, I can feel it through the foam. The ESC is hot.
Oh.
So we'll find out if that's an issue. The other thing too is I'm still not 100% sold that our CG is exactly where we need it to be. So we're gonna find out in due time. If the CG is not forward enough, I think this one's gonna help a lot because it's gonna bring that CG forward. In fact, we could plop that in there real quick.
Right.
Since we blew our window for getting out in the, you know, with the sun up and stuff. By the way, I want to talk about one other thing too while I'm pulling this battery out. This XT60, show them the pedals. I want a close up of the pedals there, hon. Do you see the pedals?
Mm-hmm. Are they really tight?
No, they're loose.
Oh, they're loose?
Yeah. So
Really?
watch this, guys. Look at this. Phillips screwdriver. Put it in there. Open those pedals up by just rotating just a little bit. And then that's going to make a better bite on the battery. But you feel the heat coming out of there?
Yeah, I did.
It feels like a cup of coffee
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
it
really
is
warm.
hot.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that the dang thing doesn't overheat itself, you know, while you're just sitting. Granted, this thing was on for like 45 minutes, almost 50 minutes, because we were paused for a few minutes in the middle of our exploits, trying to figure stuff out. Okay, so let's slide this in here and see. I bet this is gonna work way better for CG. And if it does, then we'll just like leave it loaded, ready to go for flying. Gotta open up the strap a little bit. Okay. Now that that's opened up, we'll slide this in. I don't think our shelf liner trick is gonna work very good on this battery because it's not contacting the wood. Okay, throttle cuts on, throttle sticks down. Now watch this. Oh yeah, way harder to plug in. Love it. We are gonna put a voltage alarm in too. If you guys don't know what a voltage alarm is, this is a voltage alarm. You can get these in a bunch of different places. This is gonna tell us the voltage of our flight pack, and it's gonna plug into the balance lead. So you'll take the balance lead, and this side's the negative most side. So you just plug the negative most side in, and then you can set where you want it to alarm by pressing this button. I'm gonna have it set to 3.3, okay? So then, put that back on, check our CG. I mean, I can tell where the mark is, so I might have to go out here. You know, the other thing is I normally put a plane like this way. And that might be part of my problem, is I just am having trouble balancing it. See, there's nose heavy, there's tail heavy, and it is a tight range, guys. You see where I'm touching?
Yep.
That is pretty dang close.
That's pretty close.
That's close. Now, is it perfect? I wouldn't go so far as to say it's perfect, but it definitely feels like it's close to the crest of the wing root. Right there. That's where it feels like.
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna be okay. All right, leave your questions and comments down below. Let us know what you think of this Durafly product. I gotta say, it is tightly finished. Like, this thing looks way better than I thought it was gonna look. When we opened the box and I started pulling the plastic off, I was really impressed until I saw the clevises and control horns. And then I was pissed because that just annoys us. It's a pet peeve of ours. But I gotta say, it's also a minor thing and it's unique to our circumstance. You might not share that concern. And I gotta say, this thing looks fantastic. It is light for how big it is. And it looks the part. So it's gonna be cool. We really appreciate you being here with us on Brian Phillips RC. Ways to support us. YouTube super thanks. YouTube members, thanks for being members, guys. Patreon, if you want to be a member outside of the community of YouTube, that's totally fine. It costs us a little bit less. It's like 18% over there. It's like 30% at YouTube. YouTube super thanks costs us about 30%, just so you know. And then over at PayPal, 0% for friends and family, unless you're overseas. Just keep in mind on PayPal or Patreon, we show no value added because that's the way we do it so that people don't have to pay VAT overseas. because of that, tax eats into whatever support you guys are sending as well. So in case you guys are wondering why we set that up, but ultimately the best way to support us financially is just buy these planes from the links. Then we win while Hobby King in this case wins, or Spectrum wins. Whether you're buying a Spectrum battery or nanotech battery, you're buying the receiver, whatever you're buying that you're gonna buy anyway, just follow the links so that they know that we helped impact your purchase decision, and then they will gladly give us a small commission, and that's the way we do this thing. Also, that's how we do this with all the planes, helicopters, quads, VTOLs, stuff you see us review, whether it's a ride-on product, a bike, or some leaf blower. We don't really care if you like it. If you don't like it, don't buy that one. Buy the one that you do like, and then you'll help reward the companies that are doing the stuff that we do like, okay? So that's how this works. That's how we can tell the full truth, nothing but the truth, so help us God. We say that all the time because it's just kind of like a running joke, because basically anybody on YouTube that's doing a video is trying to get you to buy something, right? Well, I don't care if you buy this or if you buy the immediate direct competitors. Like, I could care less. It doesn't matter to me. I want the winners. I want the victors to be us, because we love this hobby, right? And not necessarily the manufacturers, although I don't want them to get hurt, because we need those manufacturers, those people that are crazy enough to put together an airplane in a litigious society where we go fly them, okay? That is like a recipe for disaster. So keep doing it, please. Hobby King and all the other companies we work with, Spectrum, FMS, Flywing, whoever it is, RC Era. We work with a bunch of different companies. I don't want to leave anybody out. Who did we just do the other day? We just did
Cabin.
Hangar
China
9, Cabin 9, Cabin, E-Flight, Hobby Zone. We don't want to leave anybody out. The truth is this: we work with a lot of different brands, and we personally don't care which one you love, but we want to bring them to you in a way that gives you the no BS review. You can see the problems we had. The things that annoyed me will probably annoy you, and the things that don't annoy me, the things that get me excited, will probably also get you excited. Maybe a little bit more for me than you, and vice versa. But like, for instance, there's no LEDs in this model. Okay, it's a 1.1 model, but it speaks to such a detailed, beautiful model that it's like, I really wish you would have had LEDs on there. But I would have wanted day bright LEDs, and I would have wanted a tail light, and I would have wanted an anti-crash beacon, and like, where does it stop? So where it should stop is red, green, white. That's the minimum as far as I'm concerned. Landing lights, optional, functional, flashing lights, things like that, they're less critical to me. What I want is what helps make flying better, okay? That's why I love that the retracts seem like they might actually be worth a crap. And I love that they have a functional drop tank, because that adds a layer of fun, but also complexity that's really gonna make this plane a lot harder for the average Joe to get to work. And I don't know if you'd consider us average Joes, because we do so many of these, but the truth is, like, I'm a pretty average pilot, if that. I'm better than I was 10 years ago, but I'm still a pretty average pilot. So that being said, if you guys are watching this thinking, I could never do that, well, first of all, you could, but you do have to be a little bit dedicated to it. And the more dedication, the quicker you're gonna get where you wanna be. That's true for just about any skill or discipline in your world, okay? So the more you put into it, the faster you're gonna get where you wanna get, okay? So my suggestion is, if you wanna be flying this P-40 and you're like, hey, I can't do that, I'm still barely getting an Aero Scout in the air. Okay, good job at being disciplined and making a self-evaluation. A P-40 is not gonna be as easy to fly, okay? We'll help get you there, because there's gonna be a progression, just like everybody does this in the hobby. And so that's what Brian Phillips RC does. So if you're looking for a competitive offering, something that you could get that might be a little bit better fit for you, you can check out brianphillipsrc.com, or you can do bprc.me. It's a short link, same place, doesn't matter which one you go to, it's gonna take you to the exact same place. You can compare and contrast to other P-40s, P-47s, P-50s, P-51s, P-38s, Spitfires, F-4U Corsairs, all sorts of F-7Fs, all sorts of planes. I mean, literally tons of warbirds. You can find one that's exactly right for what you need. And then when you realize that particular one is out of stock, you find another one. It doesn't matter what you're trying to compare and contrast to resolve, but it is there right now. And our website stays up to date because Camera Crew does a great job of keeping things up to date. In fact, it's more up to date than some of our vendors' websites that we work with. And so for that reason, you might go to Brian Phillips RC first and then follow our links, and then you'll support us financially because we'll make small commissions on the sales of those products when you ultimately do purchase them. Okay. So again, we're not trying to pull any punches. We tell the full truth on this channel so that you guys understand what you're getting into, how it impacts you, and how it impacts the hobby. Because at the end of the day, I love this hobby, or I wouldn't be spending, you know, a lot of money building this hangar and building these runways, all this stuff. It is a real thing in my real world. So if you're living vicariously through Brian Phillips RC, congratulations, you're not the only one. But I will implore you, don't just live vicariously through Brian Phillips RC. At least get a plane once in a while. Enjoy this hobby. It is a wonderful hobby. And if you're sitting on the fence, get off the fence. You don't have to start with this model. You can start with something much easier. You can start with something cheaper. Although to be honest, it's not a very expensive plane. You might want to check it out. Links are in the video description below. Even if you buy a plane and you decide, hey, I'm going to just shelf this for a little bit until I'm ready for it. That's what a lot of people do, okay? Because they might stop selling this one or change it to a different livery or something like that. So if you see something that you really like and you really think you want it and you know for sure you're not ready for it, get it, sit on it. I have a new Unbox sailplane in my basement. I know it's incredible, and I'm not making this up. And I bought that when it was discontinued from Hobbytown, USA, years ago. I still have never flown it because we've been so busy ever since. I probably should, but I haven't. That's okay. Okay? You probably are going to have the same thing in your hangar, okay? Questions, comments, leave it down below. We're gonna do our best to help you out. Here on Brian Phillips RC, we don't wanna leave any stone unturned because those are the stones that will stop you from flying, okay? That's why we start and end with a finished product. Now, in this case, the only thing that we're not sure about is the bomb drop. We'll have to test and see if we got it. I think we did. But if you guys saw something on this channel that helped you, smash the like button, click the bell for notifications. When you do subscribe, I suggest you do it. We're gonna come up in your queue. There's gonna be other people that come up in your queue that are similar to us. You're gonna find that they do a video that's this long and we do a video that's this long. You will learn what parts of our videos you need and what parts you maybe don't need. You're not gonna hurt our feelings if you jump through, but you will hurt our feelings if you watch our videos, you get value, you don't smash the like button, you don't occasionally buy planes from the links. That will hurt our feelings, okay? But fortunately for you, we won't know that you didn't. We'll just be sad. So make us not sad, buy from the links. That's the #1 way you can support us beyond watching videos, okay? That's all we got for you. Good job, Durafly. This thing is awesome. I really am kind of blown away with how much we've seen improvements in the last couple of years, okay? Not the least of which is sitting back there in that Catalina pile. That plane went together and it's got its issues, but it is so much fun, okay? And we've got the extra downstairs that is huge and amazing. The Spitfire was a gigantic pain in the butt to build. Beautiful flying plane. White, black on the bottom, just looks awesome, okay? Amazing flight experience. The kit box, super fun, very basic, very easy. You know, they've just been hitting it on all cylinders. And I love it because Hobby King used to be what we would qualify as Dynam Plus. It's like a project plane. We're getting away from the project plane status. We're getting more into that FMS realm, the E-Flight realm. And I'm really excited to be able to report that. And that is not just because we work with them. We weren't working with them when we did videos with them 10 years ago. And we still told you the same thing, okay? The truth is they did carry more of the gray brand garbagey stuff. And I think they do less of that, more of the good stuff now, which is awesome. And to be honest with you, going almost bankrupt will do that to a company. So they're just responding to what you need, which is good planes at a good price and delivered. So keep it up, Hobby King. And I think you're gonna find success because if it's in stock when people want it and you have people that want it, you will win. We'll help you win, hopefully. Because I think everybody wins in this hobby when the companies that we like are doing good stuff, okay? All right, that's all we got for you. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. So much more right around the corner on Brian Phillips RC.